everybody, welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here and Jack Canal. All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go! Denoso with a crafty maneuver up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count down Danny Berezne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Borman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion. Well, good evening everybody and welcome back to PSGL. We're moving into the second half of the season. We're truly at the midway point of the season. We head to Mexico City, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, home to the Mexican Grand Prix now ever since 1962, in its very first unofficial race in 1962, with the main, well, should we say the official one coming up in 1963. But here now in 2024, we go racing once again in the virtual sense, this time here at PSGL. It's an absolute joy to I should say actually a joy to have you all here with us. Joining me once again is the one, the only Jack Canal. Jack, how are you, sir? I told you the pun was going to be good. Oh, that I owe you an apology, Jack. No one can hear you in the. Yeah, you've been muted this entire time, mate. Do bear with me. We obviously coming off the settings from last time, folks. It's been a little while, so we're going to come back now with Jack, hopefully. But bear with me. Hey, listen, we love a technical glitch here at PSGL. We've had a fair few in the past, but Jack, don't you worry. We are going to get you back. Just give me 2 seconds. I got a feeling I have to pop this out, and then we should hear from you again very shortly. Let's wait for this now. Jack, shoot.
So nobody heard my incredible response to that pun, so okay,
Do it again.
fair enough.
Do it again.
No, I was expressing my sheer disappointment, basically. I just heard, we've mentioned it once, and that's the only time we're going to do it. But of course, as I was saying, if you did miss last week, where were you? Of course, Spa, 5 different winners from the first 5 rounds, and the only 2 people who have won here before, of course, are Jarno Opmeer and Barry Borman. They're both on the grid this evening. Jarno leading the championship by 14 points coming into this one, so let's see if they can carry on.
Yeah, can you believe it? 5 times we have visited Mexico. We've only had 2 different race winners in the past. 3 of the wins going by way of Jarno Opmeer. The first one coming all the way back in season 27 where he would go and take his first title. And then following that, of course, it would be Barry Borman on the bounce twice. First time with McLaren, second time with Ferrari. Of course, he's back with Ferrari again, this time looking to make it 3 and level with the Flying Dutchman. But Jarno has won it over the last 2 occasions, 34 and 36. Those are seasons, by the way. And in terms of championships, no one outscoring the Jarno Opmeer in that feat right now. He took the first 3 championship wins, season 27, 29 and 30, with then taking 34 and 36. And I must say, Jack, looking ahead, he's looking in rude health right now and has got every chance, I think, of winning yet another crown. This is how our points currently look. Jarno Opmeer at the very top, 52 points to his name, clear by 14 of Brendan Lee, who sits in second. Though I will say, Jack, and I think you'll agree with me, this is the best we've seen Brendan Lee, I would say, probably in a good few years.
Certainly is, yeah. Now, of course, bear in mind, he has missed some rounds as well, so that's, of course, contributed to that points deficit. But to be still second in the championship, despite that, he's definitely in some good form here. Tom Manley, you see, third on 34 points. Danny Berezne as well scored some good points last time out in Spa, got his first podium of the season. So he's now up there in 4th place in the championship. So he's now in with a good shot of it. He was very happy with his performance last time. He said it was basically a perfect execution. So we will see how he manages to get on run for this as well. So now as well, pole sitter from last week, Freddie Rasmussen, still not off the mark, so to speak, yet. 8 points to his name. Again, he started on pole last week, ended up in a collision with Barry Borman, ended up on the wall, so he's still going to be looking to try and find that form again. He's got the form, but so far his luck has not gone with him.
Certainly hasn't. As far as Freddie Rasmussen's concerned, though, he is at the top of the tree in the team standings. If you factor in Jarno Watmir's efforts, the two gladiators at the very top of their game. Of course, Freddie coming off the back of winning the F1 sim racing crown for a very first time. Jarno, of course, has 2 under his belt. The pair of them making a really formidable team. With then in second place, Kick Sauber with Thomas Ronha and Brendan Lee. V-Carb, of course, sat in third place as well. Declan Barrett and Tom Manley. With Mercedes, Jake Benham and Danny Berejny in fourth. McLaren, Lucas Blakely and Wilson Hughes in fifth. That rounds out your top 5 in the team side of things. In terms of the calendar, we have ventured in now to the halfway point. Mexico is round 6. We're going to follow up with Austria, Qatar, Vegas, Texas, Brazil, and then the grand finale at Abu Dhabi when that rolls around. But in the meantime, prior to us moving into qualifying, we can hear from one of the drivers. Let's head to Alvaro Caraton.
So the PSGL season for me has been a bit weird, not gonna lie. We started pretty strong in Bahrain with a P3 for myself and P4 for Isma, which saw us leading the Constructor Championship, but in fact we were actually quite off pace in quali for the top guys, so we weren't happy as we are focusing for F1 esports ultimately. Then in the following races, it was actually last race for Isma in Silverstone, and I didn't practice for Silverstone at all because I was outside, not at home. It rained, so the test was a bit useless. In the following races, we were actually quite better on pace. In Japan especially, I was really strong, but I had a PC issue in the middle of Q2, which I couldn't go through Q3 as I missed the last run. And then the race is clearly compromised by it. The other 2 races were also unfortunate and I was simply not good enough. So let's see how's the pace in Mexico tomorrow, which is the most important thing, and hopefully we can have a good race. Bye.
So there we have it, Jack. Alvaro Caraton just speaking very candidly about his team's performance so far. They looked positive, obviously making their way through the first part of the season. Bahrain looked really positive with Fassi and Caraton finishing in tandem 3rd and 4th. But things have kind of slipped off a little bit. Caraton obviously alluding to the fact that the pace has simply not been there, and also maybe accompany that with a lack of practice as well. Not ideal, especially as we believe we're moving closer to the F1 esports season now. This is generally the hot point in the campaign.
It is, yeah, and you got to love the honesty as well from Alvaro Caraton. They know they've got some things to work on. They're working towards a potential F1 esports anyway. We don't know the exact date just yet, but again, they've got a almost kind of fresh lineup, an all Spanish lineup there going into the F1 esports season. Let's see how they get on. But of course, we have some returning faces that have been away for a few weeks here on the grid. Fabrizio Donoso back out again. He was been missing since I think round number 1 as Fabrizio. So nice to see him back in the Aston Martin alongside Otis Lawrence, of course. Who's, of course, we mentioned it last time. His debut race for Aston Martin. He was literally announced the day before the race, and he goes out and wins on his first appearance with them as well, which is fantastic to see. But of course, we did have another different signing during the week, George. Probably a long overdue one in the form of Istvan Pukki.
Yeah, and quite a statement of intent as well on Mercedes' part. But one thing I will say about Pukki, I would say he's probably one of the most underrated talents out on the grid in terms of league racing form. If you look at the past, he has been up there. Not a stranger to race victories. I remember one famous one that he had, Jack, back at Spa not too long ago. And I have to say, definitely one I would tip to be successful going forward. Actually entered into the league racing realm coupled with Danny Berejny, and of course both of them from Hungary alike. His Donoso and MX is way across the line. First time of the session of 1:16.645. But yes, Istvan Pukki announced as a Mercedes driver in, I believe, what could be said a shrewd move on Mercedes' part.
Definitely is. You got some a decent lineup there now. You've got, of course, Danny Berejny, as you would imagine, the team leader, Istvan Pukki, and Jake Benham, of course, as well. He'll be up there as well, very experienced, a lot of experience under his belt now. as well. So that it's all starting to sort of take shape now as we head towards we're at the halfway point of our season, of course, but we're heading towards the beginning of the F1 Sim Racing Championship as well, which will be interesting to see. We have, of course, a reserve in at McLaren today in the form of Xander Van Dyken, who's filling in for Lucas Blakely, so he'll be sharing the car with Wilson Hughes, of course. Just there as well. But the Kick Sauber lineup are back. Thomas Ronnar, of course, and Brendan Lee returns to the grid today as well. Important for his title fight now. He gets the results out of this at the halfway point of the season, round 6 of 12. So he'll be looking to try and get back to his form. He's certainly back on it at the very least, but needs to start closing that gap to championship leader Jarno Wotmir. And the other signing, of course, that we did talk about briefly at Spa didn't have a fantastic race out there with Joni Tormala to Alpine, which is very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely right. In fact, we will, of course, be having a look into a statement that Joni Tormala gave to us fairly recently in terms of his departure away from the Red Bull family. Of course, we're looking at Otis Lawrence making his way around the track now. Obviously moving up into the F1 esports realm, coupled with Aston Martin, and again, what could be said as two groundbreaking moves on part of the team in Mean Green. And I'm not just talking about Adrian Newey, I'm talking about Otis Lawrence himself as well. One of the sharpest rising stars in terms of F1 sim racing at the moment. Such a talent, Jack.
Really is. I mean, he showed it again at the race. Just gone with Spa. I mean, it proved the point why Aston signed him. Went out, took the victory from the get-go, and took the lead off Freddie Rasmussen, and managed to. Again, the display of driving that he did was patient all the way through, because we know how important the DRS and the slipstream is on this game. Was patient, left it to the last moment to overtake on the Kemmel Straight, and had the confidence to stay in front all the way to the end. So Otis Lawrence became our 5th different winner. Of course, we've been talking about this. So we're going for 6 different winners in a row here at PSGL. So we'll see if we can do that. But 5 already is pretty good going. But there's still plenty of others who could potentially take that as well. Only one driver, as we talked about previously, when it comes to pole position, because pole position so far this season is cursed. And I say that because nobody who has started on pole this season has A, won the race, or B, got a podium, or C, finished in the top 5. So nobody's going to want to start on pole today. Yeah,
there's a few bad omens in this world, but this is one that the drivers certainly don't want. In the meantime, let's take a look at a brief word from Otis Lawrence regarding his time with Aston Martin, regarding his move to Aston Martin.
Hey everyone, Otis Lawrence here. As you probably recently know, that I've joined the Aston Martin Aramco esports team for the 24-25 season. Yeah, this is the beginning for me. This is the start of my career. I'm very excited to see what I can do. Yeah, finally get the seat. It's been a while. I've been driving for a long time now. Well, 2.5 years. I've started when I was 13. And yeah, it's a great feeling. I'm very excited to see what I can do. And yeah, coming off a win in my debut race for Aston Martin in PSGL. It's going to bring me a lot of confidence, especially got a good team around me now. Before I didn't have any team around me, and I had to do a lot of stuff on my own. So, yeah, should help me a bit. Hopefully, we can try and make it 2 in a row. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoys the race.
So that's Otis Lawrence, everybody, just talking about his move to Aston Martin, and he's hoping that this will be a big move in terms of his career. Obviously, as he alluded to as well, Jack, it's been actually involved in the sim racing sense for quite a long time now. I mean, it all started at the tender age of 13 years old. Of course, based in the valleys of Wales, and now looking to set his sights on a seat in F1 sim racing now with Aston Martin. And it is a statement signing from Aston, but I think also a very smart move by Otis himself.
I think so. It seems like it is going to be a very great move for him, because if you look at that team, you've got Fabrizio Donoso, who's one of the most experienced of all time, alongside Otis, we know has got the raw pace, but it'd be nice to have a really experienced teammate like him alongside him to sort of maybe get advice from, see how things operate. And of course, I suppose the victim, if we want to say that, for Otis's signing was Simon Weigang. Of course, is no longer part of Aston Martin. He has said he is going to be part of some team. We don't know where that's going to be yet. But it's a great lineup for him. You've got Duncan Hoffland himself and Fabrizio Donoso. So possibly dark horses going into this next season.
I think so. And as we speak as well, the cars now starting to flood out onto the circuit. It's been a little wait. We've got 9 minutes left in Q1. Not many setting laps at all. Only Donoso has in fact set a lap on the intermediate tyre, that being that 116 that we saw not too long ago. Sander van Dijken stepping in as well. Now, the livery may not give you a clue, but he is driving essentially for McLaren here tonight. Yet another driver that obviously is hoping to hit the heights and has also been around the circles for quite some time, was very successful in the realms of PlayStation on consoles, since then has moved across to PC and joined, like many people call it, the master race in amongst many of the fellow drivers that have taken part, obviously many of them competing in console years ago. In fact, you could probably call McLaren the console combination when you consider that his teammate Wilson Hughes was a PSGL PS4 champion back in the day.
Certainly was, and if we talk about Lucas Blakely, he also started on PlayStation, so they've all started out on consoles in some way. I mean, you look at Thomas Ronnar, it was an Xbox, well, it was originally Xbox before moving to PC. It's sort of the grassroots are on consoles before you move across to PC. But we now have 20 cars out on the circuit in Q1. It's going to get busy, obviously. There's plenty of laps going to be keeping our eyes on as we head down across the lines. It's Barry Borman, of course. He's the only other driver except Jarno Watmer who has won here before. He's won twice. So he'll be looking to try and get himself on the board for this season as he heads towards turn 1.
Yeah, coming in towards turn 1 now. It's the S's Solana coming out of Recta Principale. He's then going to send it down the next straight of the Transera, which will then set his sights on the SA de Largo, then in towards the Hawkia at turn 6. Sector 2 now coming up as he now crosses the sector timing line, and 27.896 to get things started for the Iranian Barry Buraman, who is of course a PSGL champion from back in season 32 and 33, but it was a fraught fight between he and also Thomas Ronhar, wasn't it, Jack? It looked like it was going to be Ronhar's title, but in a very controversial final day, it went the way of Buraman.
It certainly did. It ended up being decided in the stewards' room afterwards, and countback rules and everything. So Barry ended up winning the title on countback for having more wins than Thomas Ronnar after a stewards' inquiry went against Ronnar, dropped him a place or two. So and then he ended up winning the championship as a result. So crosses the line now, first time on the board, 12.9 for Barry Borman, and you'll see plenty of times coming in now, immediately beaten by Danny Beresnet by half a tenth on a 12.8. Yanni Tormel on a 13.0 across the line. Sander van Dijken also on a 13.0. Josh Edo, 13.1 for him. And then we have Wilson Hughes popping in the mix there on a 13.0 as well. So it's going to be very close across the board. The Saubers coming across the line now. Thomas Gall, Brendan Lee goes on a 13.0 as well. You're going to see plenty of this across the day as we see plenty more times coming in. Donoso goes on 13.0 as well. So judging off that early laps by Barry Borman, Nicholas Longue as well, Danny Beresnet, you would imagine probably Danny Beresnet probably won't need to go again.
No, probably not. Jarno Watmer now also coming around the final corner. First two sectors, 28.1, 26.8. Now comes up towards the line, 7th fastest. Freddie Rasmussen, though, his teammate, immediately shoots to the front with a 1:12.826. That is 300ths quicker than Danny Beresnet here. 5 minutes and 30 still to go. Longue slots in behind his teammate into 5th. Ferrari, also known to be very strong qualifiers in the past, and are now back again fighting it out here at Mexico. But as we look through the field now, Wilson Hughes not getting off to a bad start either, 10th fastest. And at the moment in the drop zone, it's Caraton, Edo, Fassi, Gal, and Joni Tormela on his return. Obviously competed last time out for the first time in PSGL this season with his brand new team Alpine, and is looking to make quite the statement. But 20th place is not ideal, though I did see his tweet and he said hoping to do a 19th to 1st.
Well, I mean, it's possible. We've seen people do it before. But as you can see, the gap's incredibly close across the board. With representative lap times on the board, there's 3/10 separating the entire field, and you have 8 cars on a 13.0. So this is sort of the story of tracks like this, that with only a 1 minute 12, 1 minute 13 lap, that even small gains could gain you 7-8 places quite easily. So Rasmussen quickest, Beresnet second, and Ronnar 12.8. Seen Istvan Pukki pop himself in the mix there as well on a 12.8, and P4 brand new to Mercedes, of course, this week. Barry Borman, Nicholas Longe, basically inseparable there on the 12.9. 2 thousandths between them in favour of Bormand. And then you have that big gaggle on the 13.0 being led by Shanaka Clay, of course, R8G now. And we'll see how he gets on there, top 10. Drop zone at the moment is Alvaro Caraton, Josh Ito, Ishmael Fassi, Thomas Gall, and Yoni Tormola. So they'll be looking to go again, but margins incredibly tight, as we would expect.
Yeah, as always, the trend continues. But just look at that top 6. Unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, 78 thousandths between the top 6. Truly remarkable. Purple sectors going between 3 drivers. At the top of the shot, Freddie Rasmussen holding on to the purple second sector. First sector went to Brendan Lee, who, despite setting that first sector in purple, finished 13th fastest out of the first flying runs. Though, as my data now updates, it's now showing at this point the car in 16th, Alvaro Caraton, holding the purple first sector. 18.059 though in the third sector for Jarno Opmeer. Means that he is fastest in that final sector. So it might be the case that Jarno, more technically sound, coming out of that third sector. Obviously, you come out of the straight line sections out of Sector 1. It does get rather technical coming through Sector 2 because you meet some of the hairpin bends, but then you meet another hairpin heading in towards the stadium section, coming in towards Sector 3 as well. So, great opportunity still, though, to be found in amongst various drivers here at this stage. Cars making their way back out onto the circuit. Jake Benham, the first to go out, as many drivers now opt for retirement out of the session. Danny Berejnay, Thomas Ronha, Barry Burman and Longe. So both Ferraris calling it a day in Q1, hoping they'll move through to Q2. Rasmussen doing the same.
Yeah, you'd imagine that they are probably safe. Barry Borman, Nicholas Longe, they've got about a whole tenth of a second on the cars behind, so they should be safe. But you've got, this is going to be incredibly tight because from 19th up to 7th is about a tenth of a second or so. So an improvement of a tenth of a second for Thomas Gall would see him in 7th all of a sudden. So that this is going to be a really, really hard fought way. This is only Q1. This is just to get through to Q2. So this is not for pole. This is just decides who gets knocked out in this part. So this is going to be very, very interesting to watch. Jake Benham will be the first car out, but everybody is now back out on the circuit. So kind of anybody's guess. I think we are going to see some shock eliminations today. We've seen them in every round so far, but it's anybody's guess who's going to end up in that drop zone.
Yeah, certainly will be. Jake Benham will be hoping that he's not one of them, though he sits right on the bubble in 15th place, heading through the hairpin at Forest Sol, and now will venture through towards the Peraltada. Just needs to make sure he tees his run up just to open his account here in this final run of Q1 You'd Fathom. 1 minute and 25 until the timer ticks to 0, and Jake Benham will be the first of every car to set their final flying runs, bar those that have obviously retired already. Jake Benham coming through now in towards turn 1, heading out of S's Moises Solana. Out of turns 1 and turns 2 now. He'll look to ferry his way down the Transera straight. Of course, Benham, who is now, apart from Jarno, those two were teammates together at Mercedes for such a long time. Benham now sided with Danny Berejnay as what looks to be the two main drivers as part of that fold. Of course, I'd imagine that Istvan Pukki will take the helm as a third driver as such, Jack.
Yeah, you would imagine. It's going to be interesting to see how that's going to work out. But in the meantime, Jake Benham, I can tell you, is almost a tenth of a second up in the first sector alone. So he needs to make sure it doesn't invalidate this. But this should see him well safe if he manages to finish this lap. And he is a whole tenth of a second up on his best time. So that'll see him rocket up to around 6th or 7th if he hooks up this final sector. Coming through the stadium now as he comes under the bridge. Chucks it into the right, needs to make sure to nail that apex on the inside, gets on the power, looks neat and tidy from Jake Benham, crossing the line now, and it's a 12.875, very much safe for Jake Benham. Great improvement from him in that final sector, as now we see more cars crossing the line. Tom Manley improves to a 12.8. Thomas Gall, does he improve? He's going to be out in this part of qualifying. Brendan Lee improves to a 13.006. Otis Lawrence improves as well, as we see further cars crossing the line now. It's going to be very interesting to see who makes their way through. Alvaro Caraton improves for the moment as we wait for more cars to cross the line. Xander Van Dyken won't make it through, neither will Ishmael Fassi. So now it's Jarno Opmeer on the bubble, but he looks like he's going to be safe as Josh Ito does not have the improvement in hand to make it through. So there it is. It's decided. Bottom 5, Ishmael Fassi, Xander Van Dyken, Thomas Gall, Josh Ito and Yoni Tormola, the drivers eliminated from this one. But I think Jarno might be breathing a sigh of relief. Only a couple of thousandths in it there.
Yeah, but he's already set a purple second sector, so looking really fast here is the Flying Dutchman. Let's see if he can close things out with a furiously fast final lap here in Q1 now across the line. Oh, not quite, barely. 14th place, but I don't think he'd be too upset with that. He's secured safety. Denoso now moved down to 15th, but we're going to say goodbye to Fassi, Xander Van Dijk and Tamas Gal, Josh Ido and Joni Tormela. I'd say one of the biggest shocks out of all those, probably Ismail Fassi, Jack.
Yeah, but that is a bit of a shock, actually. Ismail Fassi not making it through to the next part of qualifying. You would normally expect that from the Spaniard, but no such luck today, and he finds himself out by just a couple of hundredths of a second in this one. Josh Ido as well, you'd have to, like the Alpines, 19th and 20th. That's not going to be an ideal scenario for them, but we'll see what they can do from that far back. But safety for Fabrizio Donoso as well, and for Jarno Wotmir, Alvaro Caraton, and all those guys there. But a decent job, you would have to say, by the Ferraris, by Freddie Rasmussen, Danny Beresnay, Thomas Ronard. They all did one run, and that was it. They didn't need to do another one, so they've already got the benefit of that extra set of tyres. Yeah,
no, they certainly do. Well, that will play its hand in the strategy sense when we go racing later on. Let's wait and see. Obviously, Jarno Wotmir cruising onwards and through to Q2, but no one held a candle against his teammate Freddie Rasmussen. Top of the tree here in Q1 with Danny Beresnay in second, Thomas Ronha in third place, Tom Manley setting his final flying lap and going fourth fastest here in Q1. Jake Benham down in fifth, and then Istvan Pukki sixth, Otis Lawrence seventh, Barry Burremand in eighth with Nicholas Longay ninth, Wilson Hughes 10th, Brendan Lee in 11th place, Shanaka Clay then in 12th, and Alvaro Caraton 13th, Jarno Wotmir 14th, Donoso 15th, and we say goodbye to Fassi, Xander Van Dijken, Tamas Gal, Josh Ido and Joni Tormela. They are out of the session. So there we have it, folks. Already some first casualties from that session already. Xander Van Dijken coming in to this round, obviously now bowing out of qualifying. Not an easy session for him. Ismail Fassi, one shock. Josh Ido, another shock. Obviously, Joni Tormela may take a little bit of time to get up to speed. Let's actually take a little look at what he said on coming in to the team at Alpine. He said, "It's an interesting and exciting new challenge. I was with Red Bull ever since the very beginning, and I helped to shape the team to what it is now. And I'm hoping I can make a difference now with Alpine as well. Also, it's a great chance for me to prove myself again after having a very tough couple of seasons in a row, and hopefully get back to where I was a few years ago or better." And wise words there from Joni Tormela, an elder statesman of the championship in terms of F1 sim racing, Jack, and has also proven to be a solid contender. And Nathan Tague, team boss at Alpine, and also G2 Sim Racing, where they've had Joni racing for them in the ESL R1 Championship over in the World Cup, for example, the Esports World Cup, but also competing in the F1 Sim Racing Championship. He's always been a steady pair of hands. Hasn't had it all his own way, granted. Probably could do a little better, but maybe this is a great opportunity for him to hit the reset button as such.
Absolutely. New team, new environment, of course, and a chance for him to prove. We know how good Joni is. He's affectionately known as the father. We've heard that before because he's been around for so long. But it's great. It's great to see him continually part of this championship as well. And we know we're certain we'll see him towards the front of the order as well, as Alpine sort of find their feet in this with a brand new team, brand new lineup, and of course now G2 at the head of that as well. So they'll be trying to figure them out as well. So all the cars are out on the circuit already here in Q2, so it's busy out on the circuit as we would. A bit unusual to see them all out so quickly, so I wonder, is there potential for rain here?
Could be. It's very, very early for them. I mean, I'm not seeing anything on my radar, Jack. I mean, chances of rain is currently standing at around 22% right through the course of this session, so I don't think we will see any of that, but you never know. Things do change. Especially when you enter dynamic weather into the fault, that is generally what happens. Brendan Lee, though, is going to be the first to set a lap. Let's ride on board here with the two-time F1 Sim Racing champion representing Kick Sauber as he now makes his way down this next straight to the directed Transera. Second in the PSGL Championship, just behind Jarno Wotmir by 14 points. So be hoping that he can register a fast run here in Q2, cement himself into the Q3 equation. First sector isn't a bad way to start, still holds the purple sector, but it's ripped away by Alvaro Caraton, one of the eldest statesmen with Williams, has been serving in his team the longest. in the F1 sim racing scene now. Obviously, Joni Tormler was joint with him in all of that, and not far behind was Jarno Watmir. I suppose you could say Freddie Rasmussen is part of that because he's been at Red Bull his entire time. As we now watch Brendan Lee come through the stadium section now through Forest Sol, and now heading through towards the final couple of corners here to open up his account. 27.925 in Sector 1, 27.103 in Sector 2, and that's enough for a 113.599. Not the fastest we've seen, probably used tyres as Longe goes fastest, Jack.
Yeah, you'd imagine these are all used tyre runs, 13.2s. Remember, we were seeing 12.8s in the first part of qualifying. So Nicholas Longe, Thomas Ronard, 0.230 and the 2.250 for them as they all cross the line. So these are all, of course, not representative. These will not be the quickest times, as Jarno Watmir then goes a 13.0, and a potential to be a fresh set of tyres for Jarno Watmir there, but we'll wait and see. Istvan Puig on a 13.1, you would imagine those would be a used set of tyres. But if those are used tyres on Jarno Watmir's car, that's a hell of a lap.
That is a fantastic lap from Jarno Watmir if it is used tyres. I'd imagine that 13.095, very likely that it is to be the case. His purple second and third sectors were impressive. 26.837 in Sector 2, which was a lot faster than what Brendan Lee posted heading through the first two sectors, hence Brendan Lee's position in the classification. He's in 13th and currently sat in the drop zone. Remember, bottom 5 will head out at the end of Q2, which means then we're left with a top 10 shootout for the rest of qualifying to decide who will then take pole position. But Jarno Watmir instantly responding, isn't very well today. I know for a fact that he is quite poorly at the moment and is currently in the stage of moving around. It's been quite a busy time for the Flying Dutchman, of course, on top of winning championships and, among other things, preparing for yet another F1 sim racing season. He's also moved teams from Mercedes to Red Bull with a vast number of media campaigns, working with Team Redline as well on their broadcast. So there's quite a high level of work that's been involved for Jarno, and now coming back here in a bid to take yet another championship. And what's crazy is that out of the championships we have had, remember we've had 7 championships so far in PSGL PC F1, Jarno's got a good chance of making it championship number 6 when we cross the 8 mark, which would be truly unbelievable. The only other 2 drivers that have taken championships are Lucas Blakely and Barry Burmand.
It's an amazing statistic, isn't it? He seems to come through each time to take the championship, even if it doesn't seem likely at the early phase of the championship. Consistency is the key. He's come through and managed to take 5 championships so far, the most successful, of course, in this tier. Barry Borman, of course, winning it once, and Lucas Blakely winning it once, of course, and that was also a battle with Barry Borman, and that was also a last lap decider that we didn't know about at the time, of course. That was, of course, a collision between, I think it was actually Freddie Robson and Barry Borman that collided on the final lap in Monza, allowed Lucas Blakely to go through, and they ended up winning the championship because the season ended up getting cancelled, of course, midway through. So that was his title, and Barry Borman, of course, one of the most amazing finales you would see, of course, so controversial in many, many ways, but great viewing to watch. But he's back out on the circuit now. Fresh tyres for Barry Borman this time, and he'll be looking to get himself on the board for this season as well. So it's anybody's guess, really, who's going to get through to Q3. Like I've said, pole position is cursed this year, so unless... are we finally going to get a turnaround this season?
That's the big, bold question, Jack. Big thank you to all the audience as well tuning at home. I've got it on good authority that we've got nearly 1,500 people tuning in live on YouTube and also out on Twitch. We've got over 138 of you. Big thank you to each and every single one of you. Don't forget, if you are tuned in on YouTube, first and foremost, big hello. Don't forget to hit that big, shiny red subscribe button and also hit that like button as well. And if you're watching on Twitch, hit the follow button alike, and also don't forget to check out the socials at Premier Sim GL. It's now fast laps time here in Q2, and it looks like Barry Burmand is going to be one of the first to take us round as he exits out of the final corner and now stretched down through towards turn 1 in a bid to try and lift himself out of P10 because he's currently sat on the bubble. If he stays there, he will be eliminated very soon, Jack, with certainly some of the other drivers that are queued up in behind looking to go higher.
Yeah, it's a big amount of, well, there's a lot of drivers behind him who you would assume have a lot more pace in hand. Of course, Danny Berezin is the only car who actually did set a lap time on that previous attempt. But this is going to get very close now. 800s up in the first sector is Barry Bormand on his previous time as well. Remember, these are going to be a fresh set of tyres. Ferrari, of course, remember from Q1 they have an extra set to use as well, but they probably won't be using them until Q3. So as they come through the S's now, going to try not to invalidate through here. Can be very easy to do that by just running a tad wide over the curbs. Then comes through sector 2 now. We'll get an idea of the pace differential now through the S's section. 4/10 up in the middle sector compared to his used tyre runs. That just tells you everything you need to know about the difference between fresh and used as he slides his way through the stadium section underneath the bridge. Tucks it into the right hand side right now. This is just to get himself through to Q3. What's going to be from Barry Borman across the line now. 12.80, fastest lap we've seen so far today.
Yeah, decent lap there though. Longuet, his teammate, is going quicker, heading around the final corner. He went purple in the second sector and very close to purple in the first sector as well. Longuet now goes to the top and goes clear by nearly an entire 2.5, no, in fact, I believe it's 1.5 tenths of a second between he and his teammate Barry Burman down in second place. So Longuet now in charge. Wilson Hughes with a decent time goes third fastest, but all eyes at the bottom for Danny Berejnay, who lofts himself into second as well after notching together a purple third sector. Brendan Lee also going quickly. He's coming through the final curve. We got many other cars also set in their times. Otis Lawrence up in fourth. Tom Manley on the brink of the P10 place. Brendan Lee is going to put him there as he sets a time that places him into P5. So the top 5 all registering those 112s.
That's a hell of a lap from Nicholas Longuet there to get himself up to 12.6 for him. Danny Berejnay, good effort as well, 12.7. You see Otis Lawrence managed to slot himself there on a 12.86 as well. So wait for more cars to cross the line now. Rasmussen coming through the final corner. He goes at a 12.70 for him. Very, very tight gaps across the board here as we wait now for Thomas Ronnar crossing the line now. 12.7 for Thomas Ronnar. Now more cars coming through. Tom Manley, 12.8 for him as the final set of sequence of cars comes across now. Jake Benham is not able to improve on that time that he did. Shanaka Clay now coming through the middle sector, not the middle sector, sorry, the final sector. Last 2 corners for him. He's in the drop zone currently. Jarno Watmere 12.9 is now 9th fastest. Here comes Shanaka Clay. He goes 9th fastest and goes in a 12.963. So now, this with 5 minutes on the clock, your drop zone is now going to be Jarno Watmere. Now gets demoted down to 11th. This Van Pookie knocks him out into that 11th place. Wilson Hughes, Jake Benham, Fabrizio Donoso and Alvaro Carreton. No representative times for those 2 on the board at the moment. So very, very tight down towards the 9th, 10th, 11th place mark right there. But Brendan Lee and Jarno Watmere, they're in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, they're certainly not safe. Clay just about on the brink of safety. Jarno Watmere, though, currently in the drop zone, as is Wilson Hughes, Jake Benham, Fabrizio Donoso, Alvaro Carreton. Though at this stage of the game, I wouldn't say anybody is safe right now. Wilson Hughes, despite being in the 113s, he's only mere hundredths away from Otmere's time of a 112.970. So it's going to be all about these final runs here at the end of Q2. 4 minutes and 15 still to run. Credit to Freddie Rasmussen putting in that stellar final sector. It still wasn't enough to topple Longuet, but once more I'm sure we'll be seeing more drivers going higher than that as well. Longuet, though, very confident, deciding to retire, as is Thomas Ronnar. They believe they've secured safety, and they've got every reason, I think, to think so.
Yeah, they've got a decent gap. Nicholas Longuet is certainly safe on the 12.65. He's the only driver in the 12.6s at the moment. So in the case of this battle to get through to Q3, this would be good for Brendan Lee. If he can get himself through to Q3 and Jarno Watmere does not make it through into the next part, that gives him, again, it mightn't translate into the race, of course, but it would give him a couple of places advantage on his championship rival. He needs to start closing that gap now. 14 points is all the gap is. And of course, the championship point system is different in PSGL compared to others. So that's quite it's quite a large gap that Jarno has over his nearest rival. Tom Manley as well. He's in the championship fight, let's not forget. He's only about 4 points behind the next car, which is Brendan Lee. So he's in the fight too. He's up there in 6th place on that lap as well. So this is going to be a really, really tight fight to get through to Q3. So anybody's guess who's going to get knocked out here, but you can see that at least we would assume guys like Nicholas Longuet, Freddie Rasmussen, Thomas Ronnar and Danny Berejnay should be safe.
Yeah, They should be. Barry Burraman to be hoping to secure his safety. He's definitely looking like he's on the side of safety right now. 5th fastest is a very good banker to at least set to get himself underway. That was a 1:12.806 to put him in that position. And now he's going to look to try and hook up a flying run to now secure a place in Q3. 2 minutes and 26 to go. And other cars also venturing their way out. Some going earlier than others, however. So I do wonder whether traffic is going to play a big role, though more and more cars are making their way out. Has Barry gone too early here, Jack?
I'm not so sure. I mean, of course, we have to remember traffic is not going to play a factor because collisions are turned off and because of the slipstream OP that's on this game. So that won't be a factor. But track condition-wise, we'll wait and see. We know Barry can deliver here, but I think he probably just didn't want anybody else distracting him, so to speak, out there as he comes out across the line. Obviously didn't feel safe. Neither does Rasmussen, interestingly enough. He's come out as well. So Longe and Ronar are the only drivers that have decided not to go again. Longe, you would understand. But Rasmussen feels that he needs to come out just in case everybody else behind him improves, but he should be safe on where he is. Barry Borman now needs to find some time because if everybody else improves behind him, he's going to be in a little bit of bother as he loses the rear end. Coming through the second part of the S section at the beginning of the sector there. Just got away from him slightly. Lost a bit of time. He's 200ths of a second up, but I reckon he's lost a couple of hundredths in that first sector.
He might well have done. And whilst obviously the cars have got ghosting set on just to avoid that slipstream and also at the same time collisions, ensuring that they aren't going to be an issue. Just look at the rotation that Barry has managed to find coming through the S's now and down very shortly in towards the Rector del Avalo. Of course, Barry Burraman would year in, year out challenge the likes of Jarno Watmir, dating back over the last 3 years, 3 to 4 years. They've been fighting it out on circuit, and this time utilising the canvas that is Mexico City at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, a place where Barry has won twice before, one in red, one in papaya, as now he comes up towards the line. Barry goes enough, 2nd fastest, higher than Rasmussen by 2 thousandths, Jack.
Yeah, definitely safe now. Danny Berze's on an improvement as well. He's 600ths up in the middle sector. So we'll keep our eyes on everything here because there'll be plenty of laps flying in as we head into this last part now. 900ths of a second up for Danny Berze, 10th of a second up. This is just to get through to Q3, folks, as well. It's very, very close across the board here. Danny Berze coming through the final corner now. Got a podium last week, wants to follow that on. Wasn't happy with qualifying last week. Will he be happy now as he crossed the line? He certainly will. 12.637 for Danny Berze. Sees him safely through to the next parts of qualifying. Couple more cars left to cross the line as we cross over now. Jake Benham is out. Brendan Lee should be safe on the 12.706. Now, plenty more still to come as Alvaro Carreton sneaks in 7th place for the Spaniard. Istvan Pukki goes in now as well. Otis Lawrence goes 6th fastest now. So this could be a bit of danger zone now for Alvaro Carreton and a couple of others behind as we wait to see if there's going to be any more improvements in this last sector. I think Tom Manley will be the next car to come through. He's in the stadium section now. Shanika Clay is the guy in danger in 10th place now. Wilson Hughes has knocked Alvaro Carreton out. Here comes Tom Manley now. Does he knock anybody out? He certainly does. Knocks out Shanika Clay. Now we wait for Jarno Watmir now. This is a crucial moment for him. He's a 10th and a half up on his best time. Will it be enough to get through to Q3? Here comes Watmir now. It's not. 12th place for Jarno Watmir. He will exit in Q2. Championship rival Brendan Lee goes through to Q3.
Yeah, Jarno Watmir, unfortunately now evicted from qualifying. 12th fastest is where he will remain. A 1:12.800. It wasn't enough, and sits or slots himself in behind Shanaka Clay. Wilson Hughes through to Q3. He'll be absolutely delighted with that, especially after having one of the toughest starts to his campaign. Fabrizio Donoso also out of qualifying, as is Alvaro Carreton, who we heard from earlier on, obviously talking about the difficulties he's had through the course of the season. Jake Benham also out, unable to go into the top 10. But just look at that top 10 indeed. Danny Berejne putting out some of his finest work out there out on track. A 1:12.637. Faster than Tom Manley. Longe enough for 3rd fastest. Barry Burraman in 4th. Brendan Lee in 5th. Freddie Rasmussen in 6th. Otis Lawrence in 7th, with Thomas Ronha in 8th. Istvan Pukki 9th. And Wilson Hughes in 10th place. A few shocks there, Jack.
Absolutely, yeah. You would have expected Jarno to get through to Q3, but his qualifying pace has been better this game. But again, he'll have to start from 12th place today. Danny Bereze tops the session, but this is big now. Brendan Lee and Tom Manley have made it through to Q3 here, and of course they are the two that are fighting him for the title so far. So halfway point of the season, could this be the turning point? Of course, still have the race to come, but for the moment, exiting in this part of qualifying, Shanika Clay, Jarno Watmir, Fabrizio Donoso, Alvaro Caraton and Jake Benham. I mean, that is a serious amount of names that have exited there in this part of qualifying. A lot of shocks there.
A lot of shocks indeed, folks. And now we are one step away from race time. We've got Q3 to bring you, and that will decide pole position. The shootout very nearly underway. Obviously, let us know as well in the live chat as to who you think is going to take pole ahead of the Mexican Grand Prix here this evening. Remember, round 6 of 12. We're now moving into the second half of the season campaign. Jack, who's impressed you the most? I have to say, Pookie, now a Mercedes driver in his first qualifying session since being announced as a Mercedes driver. He's represented the Merc brand well.
Certainly has. I'm going to give a shout to Wilson Hughes actually here for Q3. That's a much improved qualifying performance compared to the last couple of rounds. Has been struggling to get into Q2. Now he finds himself in Q3. It's a great effort from Wilson Hughes. Great turnaround. So representing McLaren up there. Of course, Sander van Dijken is filling in for Lucas Blakely this week. He didn't make it through to Q2, so he'll be starting further down. But great effort from Wilson Hughes there to get through to Q3. So he's my shout so far. But yes, Istvan Pukki absolutely. But in a way, we've got to the level where we sort of expect that from Istvan Pukki now. He's sort of a dark horse, kind of just sneaks under the radar, and then you sort of notice, oh, he's through to Q3 again. So it's a consistent performance from him there as well. But as we've said, big moments in the championship early on, and of course no points scored in the qualifying, but 12th place for Jarno Watmir. Now it's up to Brendan Lee and Tom Manley to put as much distance as possible between themselves and Jarno Watmir, who starts in P12. But of course, we know how strong Jarno is in the race, so we won't count our chickens just yet.
Yeah, of course, these will be the opening runs that really do kick things off. Freddie Rasmussen will be looking to follow suit. He's had some tough races, has Freddie Rasmussen already, but now looking ahead, he has a great chance of putting some wrongs to bed as far as he's concerned. Some issues creeping into his races over the last few occasions, and is currently the only driver to have more than one pole position against his name this campaign. Has taken 2 already, and in fact they were back-to-back in the last 2 rounds. Can he make it 3 in a row? As now we watch Nicolas Longuet cross the timing line to begin his fast run. Thomas Ronhard doing the exact same as well. It just has been the case. Rasmussen's performances, his one-lap pace has been really consistent, Jack. The races have been letting him down.
They have, and I don't know it's going to just take some resetting here, I think, because again, super strong and qualifying, but again, his luck has just been down on him so far this season. So we'll see if we can find some inspiration or turn it around here in some way. But again, as we've said multiple times, pole is cursed around every single track so far this season. So I'm gonna be interested to see, does anybody just not bother coming out in Q3 because they know the statistics of starting on pole position so far this season. We've had a couple of different ones. The only driver who's had more than one pole position so far this season is Freddie Rasmussen. He's had 2 of them. The rest have all been taken by different drivers. Danny Bereze in the opening round. Nicolas Longley has invalidated his first run, so that's not going to be ideal for him there, as has Thomas Ronhard. So not ideal for the first opening runs there.
No, not at all. Here comes Longuet though to kick us off, but unfortunately invalidating his lap, and Ronhard has done exactly the same. So there you have it, folks. Already some issues for some of the drivers out there, but everyone else remaining in the box. So not ideal. We'll keep tabs on them, though, as time goes on. Obviously, we would love to get your thoughts in the live chat. Who is going to take pole, everybody? This is my usual time where I start looking to you guys to give us some insights to who you think is going to take the top spot looking ahead to the race. Looking at it on paper, obviously, you've got to fathom that maybe Rasmussen has a chance based on his last couple of rounds, so you definitely can't write him off. But Danny Berejnej's pace is known to be quite sharp, Jack.
He is, and he did say last week at Spa that the race was pretty much perfect, that he didn't want to listen to his engineer, but he listened to them and he ends up getting a podium. So he's learning to trust his engineers at Mercedes. But he did say last week that he wasn't happy with qualifying. He felt there was more there. So let's see if he manages to convert that this time. However, I think I don't really know who's going to take pole position really at this point, because it's just so open that the gaps are so close, and it's pretty much anybody's game. But I am sensing something from Longe. I know he invalidated that first run, but I really am sensing some really quick pace from Nicholas Longe today. We know how good he is in qualifying.
Well, you never know. Maybe it could be Barry's turn. He's now on a fast run now this time. Many other cars also out on track. So it's now all on here with 7 minutes and 30 to go. Now, let's take a look at some of these names. Otis for pole, says Brandon Goach. Big thank you to every single one of you, by the way, for sending your thoughts in. Darlo James saying Otis as well. Keep them coming, everybody. We want to hear from you. Jason coming out and saying not Jarno for pole, that's for sure. No, you're absolutely spot on. He was evicted out in Q2 as we now watch Barry head around the very tricky double right-hander. In fact, he slowed down on this fast run, so not an ideal start at all for either Ferrari right now. Barry slowing down, Longe invalidating. We've got other cars also making their way around. Tom Manley about to get started on his flying lap. Danny Berejnay also coming through. He's just gone ahead and set the, as you would expect, the purple first sector with a 27.885. The Hungarian, who now effectively takes on the baton as a team leader. He's been part of Mercedes for quite a number of years. If you factor in as well his first stint with Brendan Lee back in 2018, where of course they would go challenging for the title. Eventually it would be Brendan Lee who would become a Drivers' Champion for the second time that year. And of course that would be back-to-back championships as well. No one has won 2 championships without going back-to-back. Danny Berejnay will be looking to take a first F1 Sim Racing Championship, and that's quite something when you consider his service. Barry Burman now goes to the top with a 135.497. Danny Berejnay, though, tops him with a 112.497, matching to the millisecond apart from the actual seconds themselves. Berejnay, the only man so far in the 112s, and that is a superb lap.
That's a hell of a lap, Danny Berejnay, to open his account. 12.4. Fastest time we've seen so far today was a 12.6. Just to give you context, Barry Borman, he saw him slow down on his lap. He made a mistake on his lap. He went deep on the brakes into the first sector. Has no such problems that time as he's on his lap right now. But hell of a lap from Danny Berejnay to get us underway here as we wait now to see some more representative times come in across the board. Wilson Hughes out of the final corner now in his McLaren, across the line 13.2, and I'd imagine that would be a used set for him as we wait now. A couple more cars still to cross. Thomas Ronnar in the final sector now. Istvan Pukki's in the final corner as he nearly gets it in the wall on the exit there. Istvan Pukki really trying hard here. 12.7 for him. Thomas Ronnar exits the final corner. What's he got? 12.45 for Thomas Ronnar by a couple of hundreds. Really ran it close to the wall on the exit right there. He sets the benchmark for now as we wait for a couple more cars. Barry Borman 12.695 as Nicholas Longe just beats him by a couple of hundreds on a 12.619. But wow, what a lap. Thomas Ronnar versus Danny Berejnay seems to be the way now.
It certainly does. Thomas Ronnar set in that purple first sector with a 27.742, which is utterly blistering on part of Thomas Ronnar. But Nicholas Longe, Barry Burman both going up in stereo. Remember, Barry going slow on his first run. His first lap was a 135. Eventually, though, ushering in that 112.695. So a great recovery despite those tyres probably feeling a little more used in comparison to the others, or should we say the other drivers who were out there on fresher rubber and able to maximise on that fresher rubber as well. But it's the Dutchman, Thomas Ronnar, who narrowly missed out on the title back in season 32-33, very nearly also becoming an F1 Sim Racing champion, would be the one to challenge Freddie Rasmussen for the title during our most recent campaign, but even the title that Lucas Blakely won, Ronnar was in with a shout, but unfortunately lost it as he gets the tail out coming in towards the pit lane, but currently holds our pole position time, a 112.457. Danny Berejnay, though, just in behind by 400ths, just a graze Jack Canan, and they're the only two that are within the same tenth of a second.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? But you've got guys, Tom Manley, Brendan Lee. We've seen them go quicker in Q2, so expect some times from them. Otis Lawrence as well, and Rasmussen also. He's not set a time. Maybe he's thinking, I really shouldn't bother starting on pole anymore by getting through to Q3, because both times that's happened, it hasn't worked out at all for him. You just have to look at last week as an example. So Rasmussen, he'll probably just give it his all on the final run and see what happens. But Thomas Ronnar, Danny Berejnay, 12.4, 400ths of a second. Then it's the Ferraris, 12.61 and 12.69. And then a couple more still to come. Tom Manley, Brendan Lee, probably ones to watch there, as is Otis Lawrence. Those aren't representative from them and probably used sets of tyres on those cars. But Wow, I mean, it always seems to come down to the wire here at PSGL. Final couple of minutes on the board here as Danny Berezne now comes down the pit lane in his Mercedes, and he's trying to kind of sweep up that final bit that he wasn't happy with last week. Qualifying going a hell of a lot better for him this week.
Yeah, I did say he was one of the ones to watch as well, and as he has done in the past, he's gone out very early. Let's see if this works out for him. Again, last call on your on who you believe to be pole. Everybody, get involved if you're in the live chat as well. I'm amazed to tell you that we are now up to 1.8k viewers on YouTube. So if we factor in the 205 on Twitch in totality, we have got 2k viewers tuned in live here tonight. Great to have you all with us as well. Keep those names coming in as well, guys. Let us know. We've got Danny B makes it, says Rio. We've got Freddie for pole, says Tribe Gaming Europe. We've got Inter Milan saying Freddie as well. Felix Silva saying Danny Berezne as well. Alike, Gotar for pole, says Jason. Keep them coming, everybody. We will read them out as time goes on, but we're now getting set for the final fast runs here in qualifying. It's going to be sensational. Ain't never saying Brendan. We've got Peep Meister saying Danny. What else have we got here? We've got plenty of others as well getting involved. Otis for pole says Broken Britain. I mean, Otis will have every chance. Goatmere says Corey Salmons. We have got Danny says Egyptian Aviation. Danny, come on, says Salonka. A lot of fans across the board. Stone saying Ron Hart will make pole. Further down, Otis Gotis could surprise us. Even Nye, you could be right. We got Barry saying Palang. Is there a Freddie Masterclass coming? There could well be, sign. But yes, keep them coming in, everybody. Thank you for taking part and getting involved here in PSGL here tonight. We have Danny Berezne now out on his flying lap. The final flying lap, you'd fathom, before we bring an end to this qualifying session. Coming through now in towards the first sector. Very soon, at the end of the Trans-Zero Straight, he will be heading in towards Sector 2. A big lap required here, Jack.
Yeah, big lap for Danny Berezne, try and get himself his second pole of the season. He's actually half a tenth down already in the opening sector, so it hasn't gone to plan. I did think his opening corners looked a little bit untidy, so Danny Berezne maybe not on the best lap right now, but can he find a big improvement in this middle sector? 0.04 of a second down in that opening sector as he winds his way through the S's now in his Mercedes. Comes through the right, then through the left now as he crosses the Sector 2 split just about now. And we'll see what the time is, 200 down. So he's found time in that middle sector. Needs a big final sector. That's an invalidation. No pole position for Danny Berezne as he comes through the stadium section now. So that's not going to be for him. Otis Lawrence though is 0.3 of a second up in that middle sector. Big lap for the young Welshman on the cards now as he exits the final corner onto the power. Otis Lawrence, what's it going to be? It's going to be a 12.701 as he waits now. Brendan Lee crossed the line, 12.5 for Brendan Lee, third on the grid for the moment. Great lap from the Englishman. Rasmussen will not improve. He's invalidated as we wait for the final couple of cars to cross their line. Istvan Pukki, he will not improve. He's invalidated. Tom Manley is 0.08 of a second up on his best time as the final runs are now underway. Now he's found 0.2 in that middle. Comes through the stadium section now. Looks like it could be Ronar securing that pole position unless there's big improvements behind. Tom Manley into the final corner now. He's a championship contender as well. Onto the power comes the Englishman. Inside line for him as he exits the final corner. It's a 12.53. Goes third fastest on the grid. Now the Ferraris. Barry Borman exits the final corner. What's it going to be for him? It is the same time as Ronar, but he again is the second fastest time because Ronar sets it first. It's identical time, but Longue beats them all. 12.420 for Nicholas Longue, but can Ronar beat it? No, he can't. So it's Nicholas Longue who steals pole position at the death in Mexico, and identical times for Ronar and Borman behind. What a qualifying, but Longue does it.
Both drivers in second and third, 37 thousandths off the top, where Nicholas Longue purchases himself on pole position. A fabulous start for Ferrari, first and third. They did this before in F1 Sim Racing in the World Championship, where they would work together to obtain front row slots. Both of them furiously fast over one lap. Ronhard divides them though in second, Berezne fourth, Manley fifth, Brendan Lee in sixth place, Otis Lawrence in seventh, Istvan Pukki in 8th, Wilson Hughes in 9th, Freddie Rasmussen invalidating, not even putting a run together. He starts in P10. Wow, folks, major shocks already, and we'll be right back with all the analysis. Don't go away, everybody. Well, welcome back, everybody, after that short break. PSGL is alive and kicking, that's for sure, with Scuderia Ferrari on top. Of course, Nicholas Longate at the very death of Q3 taking pole position. How many of you had that in your locker for this particular race? It's going to be a sensational fight. Obviously, his teammate Barry Burroman on the second row of the grid. But Thomas Ronhaar has every chance, starting in P2 and could yet upset the order. But it just goes to show fine margins Jack can add. 34,000 separating between Ps 1 and Ps 2 and 3. And how about that? Matching lap times as well. That is something special.
It is, and I was doing my smug face, George, because I predicted it correctly. Long
did.
day pole, and
did.
There we go.
You did.
For once, I actually got it right for
Victory
once.
for Kanan.
Victory. So Nicholas Longay starts on pole position. But I did think that was going to be one of the only times that we would have poles separated by absolutely nothing. Barry Borman and Thomas Ronhaar. So Longay, again, another different pole sitter to add to the collection so far this season as well, which is fantastic. But can we get our 6th different winner today? We'll wait and see, because Longay hasn't had a win, neither has Barry, so we'll see if anybody can take that, of course. But of course, Jarno Watmere starting in 12th place, and then we have Brendan Lee kind of up in that top 10. Tom Manley and Brendan Lee sharing a row with the grid as well. So two of those champion contenders are alongside each other, which will be interesting to look at as well. But it's going to be a case of trying to maximise their points over the Dutchman today.
Yeah, well, that's our 5th different pole sitter, folks. It has to be said. So unbelievable feat. After, as well, Freddie Rasmussen going back-to-back prior. Finally, the trend has been broken. Not that it was a long one, it has to be said. But Rasmussen, I'm sure, will be back. Let's take a look at the circuit that we're racing at tonight. Mexico City, of course, the destination. We've been witnessing it, of course, already in qualifying. But this circuit hosted its very first unofficial Grand Prix back in 1962. The official one coming in the following year in 1963. 4.304 kilometers. That's 2.674 miles with 17 corners littered around this track. DRS opens up heading out of the final corner at turn 17 down the home straight before you venture in towards turn 1, and then the next DRS zone comes out of turn 3 coming in towards turn 4. That where you enter into sector 2, and then coming out of sector 2 out of the S's at turn 11, you'll then meet DRS for the 3rd time on the run down towards turn 12, and then coming out of the final few bends you will complete the lap. So plenty of opportunities here for the drivers. 3 decent straights for overtaking, though the main ones will be between turn 17 and 1 and between turns 3 and 4. Just all in all, a fast, furious circuit, Jack, with some technicalities thrown in between.
There is, yeah, and you get all that done in 1 minute and 12 seconds, despite it being, it seems, again, 17 corners, really, really long circuit in a way with the length of the straight, but you get it done in about 1 minute and 12 seconds. So very, very fast, and much faster than they would do it in real life, of course, but very, very interesting to look at as well. So now, it's the case of who's going to take a victory here is the next question, because again, like we've said, pole position completely cursed so far this season. Nobody's won from it, nobody's got a podium from it, and nobody's finished inside the top 5 after starting from pole position. That's just been the way of the season so far. So now we will see who's going to take their opportunities when they get them. Of course, the Ferraris are close to each other, which is, again, they'll be wanting to try. Again, Barry Borman will be wanting to get up behind his teammate as quickly as possible so the two of them can try and work with each other. We've seen in the past those two work incredibly well together.
Yeah, we certainly have, folks. Obviously, now we look ahead to yet more action here in PSGL Round 6 about to get underway. And you never know, we could yet see another race winner hit the 4A. But obviously, at the moment, it's Jarno Watmere who leads the championship charge, though he's going to have a bit of an issue, I think, Jack, trying to rise himself up the order. It wasn't the best qualifying session, but then again, Jarno very rarely qualifies well. P12 is where he will start. And now, looking ahead, he has quite a few big names to batter against. I must say, the Ferrari's looking strong, as they do often here in league racing.
Certainly do, but we have seen podiums this season come from 19th, so it's not all out of the question.
Good chance for Joni Tormela.
Good chance for Joni Tormela, for Josh Ito down at the back of the grid there. They can try something different. And we've yet to see the weather. We don't know what the weather's going to do. Maybe it's going to rain again like it did at Silverstone. That completely threw the spanner in the works at the start of the race anyway. So it's anybody's guess. You got guys like Fabrizio Donoso kind of starting out of position, and a couple of others as well that we'll want to keep our eyes on. We've seen guys like Tom Manley pull a worldy strategy from outside the top 15 before, so we'll hold our kind of predictions in that way, because it's anybody's guess really. But it's going to be a case of damage limitation, we would say, for Jarno Watmere with his 2 championship rivals starting in front of him. And of course, Danny Bowers now, he's worked himself into the fight as well, for the championship as well. So he'll be looking to try and capitalise on that as well. But I think it's all going to be about that start. If the Ferraris can get with each other, I think it's going to be very hard to beat them.
But then again, they've got to try and stop Ronha, who's going to be on the front row, which is going to be another tricky job because we know how good Ronha is in the midst of a fight. Another man who's got to fight is, of course, Freddie Rasmussen. That qualifying session did not go to plan, not even a time registered, Jack. And for a man who has taken pole twice on the spin, that's not form we've come to expect from the Great Dane.
Yes, but at the same time, the last time you started on pole, it went absolutely horrible. So
that's very true.
Maybe starting P10 is a strategy, and it also brings him closer to Jarno. The Red Bulls are they're only separated by 1 car in between them there. So watch out for those two, because if Jarno and Freddie can get together, we've seen that they've masterclassed the strategy before, where Rasmussen and Jarno have pulled each other along for the entire race distance, and it has worked out for a podium for Jarno on previous occasions. So the Red Bulls close to each other, the Ferraris are close to each other. The Saubers are not, they're up towards the front as well, so it's going to be a case of team tactics here, I think, up towards the front of the order, but it makes for interesting viewing.
And Brendan Lee not too far behind his teammate as well. When we factor in, obviously, the relationship between Thomas Ronha and Brendan Lee, he can be a factor as well, Jack?
Absolutely. I mean, you've got to keep in mind Brendan Lee is only 14 points behind Jarno in the championship. Different point system, of course, so the every point still counts in the championship. We're at the halfway point of with going into this race as well. This is round 6 of 12, so any point made now will matter a lot towards the end as well. And keep in mind, Brendan has actually missed a round as well, so it would be a lot closer only for that. And they're definitely going to be factors as well in this one. But Thomas Ronha will be looking to actually get himself off the mark in a way, because again, previous races have really not gone to plan for him either.
No, they certainly have not. As we take a look at some of the results so far, of course, our last time-out race winner was, of course, Otis Lawrence, who has already taken a pole position through the course of this campaign, scoring 1 solitary point back at Silverstone. He hadn't had the easiest run into the start of a season, but scored his first points actually with that race win at Spa, which is quite something. You never know, we could yet see him back. Furthermore, obviously we've got Jarno Watmere, who's sat in second from Belgium. Of course, hasn't appeared outside of the top 5 at all since the start of this campaign. And we also look at Brendan Lee further in behind as well, who has also scored continuous points. The only time he's been outside of the points was where he did not feature at Belgium because he didn't start purely. So, Brendan Lee's got a great chance here, and it's great to see him back into the groove as well. It's a shame, obviously, to not see Duncan Hofland higher up, of course, not featured here tonight. Of course, we've got Otis Lawrence in his seat at the moment, and other names that are also obviously going to be looking to creep through. Big chance for Ronha here to scoop up some major points here, Jack, especially considering he has had a very difficult championship.
Certainly has. I mean, it is a little bit. It's sort of unusual to say that Ronha hasn't actually taken a victory this season, but it's been that kind of season already here in PSGL. So could he be the 6th different winner? We'll have to wait and see. But we're going to get underway very shortly, so all the mysteries will be put to bed in just a few moments' time. But it's that run to turn 1. It's the longest run down to turn 1 on the calendar. Slipstream is so powerful on this game as well. So, I mean, if pole sitter doesn't, even if the pole sitter gets a great start, they're going to have to work very hard to stay in that position.
They certainly will. And now I call to you lot in the live chat. Who is going to take victory here at Mexico City? Round 6 of the PSGL PCF1 Championship in Season 37. And Mexico, the halfway destination as we now move in towards the final half of the campaign. Is it going to be the case that Jarno Watmere can yet again bring himself to the top off the back of a, should we say, not a necessarily easy qualifying session? I can tell you this, that Broken Britain is saying Tom Manley, he reckons he's going to win this one. Further up, we've got others as well. Let us know further down. Jarno has obviously been named, as always. Gotar for the win, says Jason. What else? Longay at Salonka. Barry says Alcam. We've also got Jacob Wilson saying Jarno. We've also got Longay as well being named. Barry says the Honey Badger. We've got further down. Keep them coming. Keep them coming, folks. We want to see them, obviously. But Honey Badger saying Barry. Lee or I think Flumia, that is of course Otmir, says sign. Ferrari 1-2 says Tom, and Avatar also saying Yano, I'm being tipped by Dungeon, thank you for that. What else are we also seeing? Brolin Babu saying Otmore. Nathan Richards has been tipped by Timo Kuipers, so there we are. You never know, maybe one day. Dan Field as well is being tipped as well. What else have we got? George Morgan again. People think I'm gonna do the business here, Jack. I think I might struggle. I haven't got a wheel in front of me. But yeah, many names suggesting that it's going to be the turn of Jarno Otmir. Now comes the Jack Canan masterclass. No doubt we will see some of that tonight. That's for sure. And Skibbity, Sigmir as well alike. But here come the lights. All 5 lights are lit. And it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Great start there for Nicholas Longe. Thomas Ronhar, though, meeting him at every turn as they now hustle down through towards turn 1. Longe covering off Ronhar immediately at the very get-go. Here comes Danny Berejne on the outside, but gets onto the grass inside as well. Or should I say Berejne down the inside? Furthermore, we got Manley, who was creeped up out of nowhere around the outside to move up into 3rd place. Phenomenal from Tom Manley. Berejne now in the midst of a fight of his own. He's got Otis Lawrence there in behind him, but also Barry Burman ahead as they head now down in towards the next left-hander. Once again, they're wheel to wheel as they creep on through. It's still no Barry in 4th. Otis now searching for the move on Berejne as they come in towards the right-hander, heading out to the double rights. Now down the next straight before they then venture into the S's, and they're still side by side. Nothing separating them. Still, Otis giving Berejne a headache as they now fight over that 5th place. But Otis has won the battle. He's Gotis in that fight and is now clear of Berejne, who is now down in 6th.
Great move by Thomas Ronhar around the outside of turn 1. Nothing that Longe could do about that. Not ideal for the Ferraris. It gets separated once again. Tom Manley squeezing himself in between them as they exit now. End of lap number 1. Thomas Ronhar leads. Fantastic move around the outside of turn number 1. He leads across the line. Longe 2nd. Manley 3rd. Burman 4th. And Otis Lawrence sits in 5th place now. But Berejne is not letting him have it that easily. Here he comes with the slipstream, with the ERS. Does he have enough? No, he doesn't. No benefit with the slipstream to pull alongside there. He's headed towards turn 1. Does he fancy a look? He has a half look down the inside, but no way through for him there. Of course, he's trying to make some medium tyres work right here. So again, not too many different strategies. Medium tyres for Otis Lawrence, medium tyres for Danny Berejne, and medium tyres for Tom Manley. Everybody else is on the hard compound tyres, so you can imagine that's why they gain the benefit of those hard. Need to try and make them work here, but again, great move from Thomas Ronhar around the outside. Braved it around the outside. Longe left him the space, didn't fight him too hard, but again, crucial move for him.
Yeah, needed to be done as well. Just dips his tyres into the grass, heading in towards the S's, but nothing that will unsettle the car, at least for now. Lap 2 of 36 still. We've got battles further down. Brendan Lee coming into the fold as well, chasing after former teammate Danny Berejne as they now heading towards the next right, coming out of Rector Della Valle and then in towards Forest Sol once more. Brendan Lee having a look around the outside of Berejne, opting against making the move. Wilson Hughes getting a good start. Someone who did not get a good start was Freddie Rasmussen. He dropped all the way down to 19th after starting where he did in the top 10, and now has just leapfrogged Fabrizio Donoso, but still a horror start for the Great Dane as we now watch Brendan Lee make his way down the straight. He will have the run heading in towards turn 1 with that DRS now opened up. He's going to go alongside his former teammate as they head down in towards the first corner now, this time on lap 3. The question is, will Lee ascend? Yes, he will. Brendan Lee now moves up into 6th. Next up, Otis Lawrence.
Yeah, I think there's been a collision further down. Yeah, Josh Edo and Jake Benham have come to blows, so that is not ended well for them. So they're going to drop way down the back of the order, but those medium tyres are not working at all. Danny Berejne already getting eaten up by Brendan Lee on the hard compound tyres, so it's not quite working out for them at this stage of the race here, but great move. Brendan Lee up to 6th place now. There's going to be plenty of DRS chicken being played here because they don't really want to be in the lead when they're coming down the straight. It was much like last week in Spa here, where we had plenty of guys, again, not wanting to overtake until the final lap. You're going to see that today as well. Longe happy to sit behind. Tom Manley on the medium tyres, of course, trying something different, but again, the mediums don't seem to be quite working. They're not making too much ground compared to the others here as they come across the line to begin lap number 4. I don't think there's going to be too many moves made here, really, as they come across the start-finish line. Longe had plenty of overspeed last time, but didn't want to make the overtake. It's the question now, does anybody else fancy doing it as they come down towards turn number 1 here? Longe does want to go to the lead for once here to retake the lead he lost on lap number 1, so Longe will retake it, and Tom Manley sits behind for the moment here. But back to the lead goes Nicholas Longe.
Yeah, fantastic move there from Nico. Retirement early on for Xander Van Dijken. He got a 10-second time penalty for speeding and then retired in that pit lane as well. Tom Manley now at the inside. Here of Thomas Ronhaar as they go wheel to wheel this time. So Ronhaar could lose out twice. Remember, Manley on those medium tyres has made them work for him. So obviously utilising them slightly better than what Berejne is. Remember though, the hard tyre, well known as far as the drivers are concerned to be a decent race tyre. As now Manley moves up into second. He's going to look to prove those guys wrong though, opening his stint on the mediums for then a run on the hards, I'm sure, when we venture in towards the second half of this race.
That was a great move from Tom Manley. Ronhaar tried to hold it round the outside, but couldn't do it, and left him just enough space on the outside to work with. And he said, "Thank you very much. I will take that second place away." So Manley now will try. I imagine what he'll try to do is again just try and follow Longe, but maybe now try and get a gap on those medium tyres to try to make good use of them while he can as they come down the straight. Lap number 5 of 36, but again there's a big gap between himself and Longe as they come down towards turn number 1 here. Doesn't look like he's going to go for the move, just shows himself in the mirrors, but happy enough to sit where he is. As we look further down, Rasmussen's trying to make some moves back, and he moves now up to 14th place as Otmir is fighting with Alvaro Carreton further down, and Carreton takes the place away. But again, Otmir with the switchback line now side by side with the Williams versus Red Bull up towards the next corner. Now will he go around the outside here? Onto the brakes goes Jarno Otmir. Carreton squeezes him wide. He'll have the inside for the next part of the corner. Great race between these two as they come down in front of the grandstands. Carreton has to yield, and Jarno now goes back into 12th where he started, but now he'll have to work himself back into the DRS of the cars in front. Not the most, hasn't really made any places here, but again is still in the fight here.
Yeah, Jarno Otmir getting the move done on Carreton in great style. That has to be said. Needs to try and hold him off though. Of course, Jarno, remember, starting in 12th. So Carreton chipping away, trying to take down the Flying Dutchman. It wasn't to be. Energy saving now coming through this final sector as we see billows of smoke now erupting off the back of the cars, as now they make their way around the final corner once more with Longe leading them through as they now head down the long straight at the Principale. It's still the Ferrari of Longe on top. Further back, Rasmussen has just registered the fastest lap with a 1:15.908. Tom Manley now getting closer and closer, and now Manley looks to go for the lead and takes the lead away from Nicholas Longe this time around. So now the mediums have got free air up at the front. Obviously needs to try and hold it though, with Longe no doubt receiving DRS as they head down in towards the next tricky chicane section. Of course, coming in towards the out of the Trans-Era in towards SA Del Lago they will go, and then a run in towards the Horquilla bends, the double right-handers that of course will light up here for Manley, but manages to consolidate the lead. But the question is, can he hold it for long, Jack?
Yeah, no, those mediums, of course, are not going to last as long as the hard compound tyres behind, so we'll see how this is going to work out for Tom Manley. Otis Lawrence getting closer to the back of Barry Borman as well. He's the other car on the mediums, as is Danny Berezne. He's holding 7th place behind Brendan Lee. Wilson Hughes sticking with him. Then it's Shanaka Clay and Istvan Pukki behind them. So everybody in DRS of each other all the way down to 17th. Jake Benham and Josh Ito, of course, they had a crash in turn number 1, so they're a long way back compared to the field here as they come across the line. Lap number 7 of 36. Is anybody going to line up a move? I feel like Ronhaar wants to see the back of Nicholas Longe here as they come towards turn number 1. I wonder will he try to go for the double overtake here. Well, Longe is going to go past Manley, but Ronhaar happy to sit where he is, right behind us. Borman had a half look down the inside, as did Danny Berezne on Brendan Lee, but nobody going for it there. But Longe happy to switch and play this DRS game with Tom Manley, as we've seen plenty of this since last week, so we're well used to it. Plenty of chopping and changing, much like the velodrome and cycling. Plenty of it goes on here too.
It definitely does. Making use of those long straights obviously does help, and utilising the power of the DRS. Now Longe is up at the front. Obviously, as far as Manley's concerned, he can't afford for this to remain the status quo for too long. Obviously, Longe will continue doing this just to ensure that Manley's supposedly faster rubber does not head to the front and clear those on the hards. If Longe keeps doing this, then essentially it's advantage Ferrari.
It is indeed advantage Ferrari, as you can see the gap that Manley gets through that middle sector. That's those mediums working to good effect for him as he exits the final corner now. But again, it's so hard to get out of DRS here. You can see, well, Of course, he's trying again. Those meters starting to go off. Of course, I did actually think that he was in the lead there. Apologies, but he's definitely not. He's starting to lose them now. Ronar comes by as this case now. So the mediums again not quite working to the good effect for Tom Manley here. Boromand trying to go through as well. Shanaka Clay had a half look down the inside of Shanaka Clay that time, and not quite able to get through that time. But Longue now leads, Ronar second, Manley sticking with them now. Does he fancy going back past Ronar here? No, he doesn't. Well, happy to sit behind for the moment here. But it's all a game of chicken at the moment with these different tyres and different strategies ongoing here. So it's not going to really come to a head, you would expect, until towards the end of the race.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. 36 laps, remember, constitutes the entire race. We've already amassed 8 so far here in PSGL, round 6 here at Mexico City. It's Longue who still holds on to the lead advantage. Buraman still creeping close to the back of Manley. You can see the rear light flashing as now the cars continue to save on that ERS where necessary in order to maximise it. I'm sure heading down the long main straight at the Principale, well, they'll need all the straight line speed they can possibly forage in order to at least defend against those behind, or maybe make those overtakes, as we now see them head down towards the start finish line to commence their lap 9 of 36. Here comes Ronar now looking to try and take the lead back, the same lead that he lost not too long ago to Tom Manley and also to Nicholas Longue, and has done in fact. And now here comes Barry as well up the inside of Tom Manley, smoothly does it from the Iranian, and now it's Ferrari second and third. Fassi also battling it out with Jarno Watmir as they head out now of the first initial chicane of the Solana, heading down the Transera this time around. The Flying Dutchman trying to come straight back out, actually pulls off a switchback heading in towards SA de Lago. That's brave, especially where it starts to thin up in terms of track width, but Otmir, unperturbed, is going to challenge nonetheless as they remain side by side. He'll have the Tiger line heading in towards the S's, not enough alongside though, however, and Fassi holds on to that 11th place.
It's pretty close right there. Caraton almost pushing Otmir through the S's now. Rasmussen's in there as well. Rasmussen obviously will want to get back with his teammate here as they come up into the stadium section once again. Good battling going on overall. Caraton really wants to get by here as they come into the stadium section, but not able to find a way through as they come now round the final quarter. Ronar leads, Longue second, Borman third. Then it's Tom Manley and Otis Lawrence now who fancies a chance on Tom Manley, and now Brendan Lee as well. Will he have the benefit of a double overtake here? We're going to go 3 abreast down the straight. Does Brendan Lee get the double overtake done in towards turn number 1? Did he time that to perfection? Down the inside goes Brendan Lee on Otis Lawrence, side by side with the Welshman here. Around the outside goes Brendan Lee. That is experience at its finest. Brendan Lee with the double overtake down the straight. Now he'll try to hold on versus Otis Lawrence here, who's on the medium tyres, but beautifully timed by Brendan Lee.
And that could be yet move of the race. Fantastic effort from Brendan Lee, the two-time F1 sim racing champion, and currently making a bold claim for potentially the PSGL championship should this form continue. He's well within the points section of the top 10, currently sat in 4th, and could yet challenge Buraman, Longue and Ronha. And keenly enough, he's got 3 drivers that are all on medium tyres that could yet help him, because Wilson Hughes is going to be stuck behind them, and if he doesn't get past them quickly, as those medium tyres start to degrade further, it's just going to allow those on the hards to just disappear up the road.
It certainly will, yeah. Great performance so far by Brendan Lee, doing everything he needs to do to try and get himself into this champion, well, back closer to the Garno in the championship as they come across the line now. Ronar leads, Longue second, now Borman with his teammate up at the front of the order here. Then it's Brendan Lee in P4, and he'll be trying to get himself with his teammate here. Longue now going to go for the move on Ronar, swapping places at the front for the lead of the race here. Does Borman try to go with them? Yeah, the Ferraris working with each other now, and the Ferraris are 1 and 2 at Mexico now as they go to the front. Longue first and Borman now in second, but now they've got the kick Saubers of Thomas Ronar and Brendan Lee together. So this is all a Ferrari versus Sauber battle here at Mexico, and there's plenty more still to come.
Yeah, definitely is. Ferrari, though, masterminds of this opening stint so far. They've now positioned themselves into a situation where they've got both drivers in the top 2 places in this classification, very much following suit with their battle plans from last season's F1 Sim Racing Championship, and now Ronha can only but stare in behind there rear diffusers here at this stage. Brendan Lee waiting in the wings as well. Otis Lawrence barely hanging on, of course, adopting that medium tyre strategy, as we now see Shanaka Clay coming into the scrap as well. Had a little look at the inside of Wilson Hughes, might do again heading in towards Forest Sol, but not this time, as they now venture through towards, outside the stadium section, and now in towards the Peraltada right-hander. Still no one plumbing for their pit stops just yet, bar Fabrizio Donoso, who currently sits 17.2 seconds at the tail end of the field. Brendan Lee starting to lurch closer to teammate Thomas Ronhart as they now head in towards turn 1 still. It's Nicholas Longuet and Barry Burraman, as now we see also Wilson Hughes also challenging at the inside of Danny Berejnay. The two of them going side by side. Berejnay looking to hold on, but Hughes knows he needs to topple the medium runners as soon as possible, and also coming to join him is Shanaka Clay. 3 wide now, heading down the Trans-Era straight. Berejnay leaves certainly leaves the fray, and now, after all that, Shanaka Clay, moving ahead of the pair of them, is now up into 7th.
Beautifully timed from that was again experience on show there from Shanaka Clay. Watch them go side by side in front, timed it beautifully around the outside, and he moves to P7 as well. Great move from Clay there, part of the RHG squad now, as he chases after Tom Manley next up on his list here, and the 2 medium runners in front of him. So nicely done from Clay there, as I see one car pulling out of the slipstream behind us. Ishmael Fassi showing himself in the mirrors of Istvan Pukki in front of him there. So plenty still to come in this race as they come now through the final corner. Lap 12 of 36. Just a lot of DRS chicken, as we said, being played here, and swapping of places that are not really consequential until the end of the race here as they come across the line. Now Longuet leading, Borman, the Ferraris with each other, the Saubers with each other behind as well. I think Barry now swapping with Longuet up front, and now he'll take the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix, and did it just enough that Ronar couldn't slot between them as well at the same time. So all the game of patience being played right now, but Barry Borman the next to lead the Mexican Grand Prix.
Yeah. Once again, a revisit from what we saw in F1 Sim Racing. Again, Clay on the move, this time at the inside of this time on the inside of Tom Manley, should I say. Shanaka Clay now going for a switchback before then venturing around the Hawk here. Double right-handers might yet have this one as well. The Manley will have the Tiger Line coming in towards the SS section, but Shanaka Clay with the overspeed coming out of turn 6. Fabulous move, and Clay, since joining R8G, now at pastures new, and it seems to be the case that he has a new vision set in place as well alike. Hard tyres strapped onto his car. He's on the same strat as the top 4, and it's only Otis Lawrence in between him and that top 4, and he's well within DRS as well.
Yeah, some great moves being made by Shanaka Clay. Great stuff. Nice to see him on form as well, as we see now. That's Tom Manley coming into the pit lane. He's getting rid of those medium tyres. He's suffered enough pain, as you can see, coming down the pit lane. So he'll be the first to swap onto the hard compound tyres as the Ferraris swap with each other once again up front. Longuet will move in front of Barry Borman. The Sauber's quite happy to sit behind where they are. Istvan Pukki, though, is he happy to sit behind Danny Berejnay? Yes, he is, for the moment. As we see now, further moves being made. I think actually, did Barry make an error there coming through the first sector, because Brendan Lee's now managed to slot himself between them?
Yeah, somehow, some way, Brendan Lee has found a way, and he's now up into 2nd and now closing up on the back of Nicholas Longuet. So I'm not sure quite what happened to Barry Burraman. Down in 3rd, clearly an error made, and now Otis Lawrence is on his tail. Which is not something you really want to hear if you're a driver, with cars now starting to move up in behind you. What it has done as well is allow Brendan Lee to focus and move on clear by 6.5 tenths, and he can now focus on Longuet. So a door is now opened for the former 2-time F1 Sim Racing champion, and what do you know, it could be a first race win if this carries on.
Yeah, I'm wondering, was there contact between Barry and Ronar? Because Ronar's dropped to 5th behind Otis Lawrence now. So I wonder, was there a bit of shenanigans between the two of them, as that's allowed them to slot themselves in front of the others as well. So Longuet leads. Brendan Lee is now 2nd. So there was obviously something that happened between Ronar and Borman that we just missed as we checked on something else there, as Ronar now slots in front of Otis Lawrence, who's on the medium tyres, of course, and now back up behind Borman. So order somewhat restored towards the front now. The top, they've had to work their way back to where they are, but Longuet from Brendan Lee is this next order. So it's Ferrari Sauber up at the front of the order now as they come to the next part of the Grand Prix. But early stop, you would say, from Tom Manley. Long way to go now on those hards to the end.
Yeah, I think they'll be somewhat relieved that contact didn't actually, eventually lead to something a little bit more serious. Both of them still holding on to P3 and P4. Obviously, though, it does break that status quo that Ferrari were holding the top 2 places, and it opened the door, incidentally, for Thomas Ronhaar's teammate, Brendan Lee, to hop into second as they now head down into the right-hander at turn 12. We're now right on board here with Brendan Lee cruising through towards turn 13. Still Longuet out in front. Shanaka Clay trying to dig deep as he closes up on Otis Lawrence, who is now the only medium tyre runner. And I definitely found him. He'll probably end up coming into the pits on this occasion. Yes, in comes Otis Lawrence to remove those mediums, and he will now join the likes of Danny Berejne and Tom Manley, who have now taken those medium tyres off. Here comes Brendan Lee for a move of the race, and for the first time, Brendan Lee leads here at Mexico City.
Yeah, back up to the front goes Brendan Lee, and again, big championship points on offer for him now, and it could be a chance for him to, with the way things are going, he could very easily come out of this race with the championship lead if everything goes his way today, but with a 14-point deficit, of course, heading into the next round. But Brendan Lee, for the moment, leads the race. That will probably change by the end of the next lap, but he has at least added to the statistics that we've had somebody else lead the race now. So both Saubers have led at some point. Brendan Lee now the next car to lead the Grand Prix. Nicholas Longuet, Barry Bourma second and third, then it's Thomas Ronhaar, and enter Shanaka Clay in P5, and a really much improved performance today as well from Wilson Hughes is in the mix there in P6.
Yeah, and obviously Shanaka Clay was actually taken out of the Williams team and left Williams, and has now since repositioned himself at RHE. Definitely based on this current performance, he's found a new lease of life. I'll tell you another driver who's doing exceptionally well is Tom Manley, who I must say, since boxing onto his hard set of tyres, he went a lap earlier than Danny Berejne. He's only 6 seconds behind Jake Benham, and bear in mind, Benham, I believe, still needs to pit. So a great chance for Tom Manley here to definitely do something stellar, as now Longuet heads back to the front. Barry Burman trying to challenge Brendan Lee as well. Otmir as well coming into his own fight, and running off wide as well was Otmir. I think Otmir might have had an issue with Ismail Fassi coming through the first sector.
Yeah, might have gone a bit too deep into turn 1 there. Did Jarno Otmir. Has to sit behind Ismail Fassi once again, but still in the fight here as they head onto lap. We're going to head across the line next time. We'll be at half distance, so it goes by very quickly here at Mexico as they come through the middle sector now. Nicholas Longuet back in front, Brendan Lee second, Barry Bourman third, and Thomas Ronhaar fourth, and Shanaka Clay happy to sit in P5 for the moment. So it's going to be a case now of who boxes first, who decides to go first onto the medium tyres, and who do you go for track position or do you go for tyre life in this case? But it seems like track position, when it goes on to the final lap, if you're in the if it's like exactly like this, track position is somewhat irrelevant.
Yeah, well, it is at this moment in time. I mean, given the fact that they are where they are right now, one thing is they are still all within DRS of one another. Brendan Lee now goes to the top once more, takes the lead of the race away from Nicholas Longuet further back. We still have the collective of Wilson Hughes, Istvan Pukki further on with Fassi as well. Caraton, Otmir. We've got pit stops here for Freddie Rasmussen, who immediately comes in. It hasn't been a great race once more for Freddie Rasmussen after obviously losing out at the very start. Pukki now moving alongside Wilson Hughes. They're going to go wheel to wheel, heading out of the Transira and in towards the Horquilla. And Pukki has managed to jump Wilson Hughes and move up into P6.
A good move from Istvan Pukki there. Happy to trying to stay with the guys in front. And Hughes did fight him, but is happy to stay in that lead train. Ismail Fassi 0.6 of a second back from these guys. Caraton has managed to get in front of Otmir there, so that's another position change. And Jarno now a bit under pressure from Thomas Gall behind in P11. Joni Tormala as well. Remember, Joni started from last place, so is in P12. And now, of course, there have been pit stops, of course. But he's still in that DRS train, still in the fight here, so potential good result for Joni Tormala on the cards here.
Yeah, could yet be a grand performance on the call here for Joni Tormala. Currently sat 12th place, still got Jake Benham chasing him down. Nicholas Longuet now goes to the front, as you'd expect. Brendan Lee now down to second, Barry Burman in third. Brendan Lee will be happy with this. Obviously this does place him in the podium fight. And you never know, yet another race win to add to the equation. Though a race win would be sensational, and it could yet take him to the top of the championship. come close of play, because he's only 14 points behind Jana Watmere coming into this race. So if it stays like this and Watmere finishes in 10th, if Lee finishes in first place, Lee will take the lead in the title race, which will be quite something. It's been a long time since Brendan Lee has led a championship, but you never know, this could be the day.
Certainly could be, but still a good bit to go in this race. Still the pit stop phases, and we've seen races come undone on the final lap on many occasions. So we'll keep our eyes on that. The guys who have pitted, by the way, Tom Manley, Otis Lawrence, Danny Beresney, they're in a train by themselves, working with each other to just close that. Oh, that was a big moment. Sorry for Jake Benham in the middle sector. Almost lost the car entirely in that middle sector, but he managed to hang on to it. But this trio of Tom Manley, Otis Lawrence, Danny Beresney, they're going to come into play later on in the race, of course, because they are going to be towards the front of the order. Their tyres will be much older, but they're working with each other very well on this occasion, and Jake Benham comes into the pit lane. The first of the guys on the hards to pit out of that train, realistically, is actually Joni Tormala, who's gone for that strategy now.
Yeah, Joni now jumping onto the medium tyres, and we're now seeing more and more cars jumping off their compounds. Obviously now we'll see a sea of hard runners coming in, I'm sure. Otis Lawrence now coming into this, and has now managed to overtake Tom Manley and moving up into 12th. Donoso retires, so we have lost Fabrizio Donoso. I believe that was in the pit lane as well, so that is yet another one. Of course, joins Zander Van Dijken. Now 2 cars out of the race, and that's one from Aston Martin out as well. We're watching the sister car currently out on track, and is effectively your next race leader. Otis Lawrence now on the hards and will easily get these to the end of the race, and he's towing along Tom Manley as well. And I bet you that they're going to be slipstreaming each other, well, should I say utilising the DRS off each other to try and ensure that they finish, or should I say come out ahead of those that are still yet to box.
Yeah, that's exactly their strategy, and they've got a nearly 12 seconds of clean air to work with as well. So may not have been a bad call there from the strategist there. And Danny Beresney did say that he really didn't want to do the strategy last week, but again, let's see if it works out for him this time around. As Brendan Lee now does lead, Nicholas Longay will take that back off him as they head towards turn 1 and swap around again. But you see Thomas Gall now will take to the pit lane for a set of medium tyres. So we'll see as these guys now work with each other. This is almost like you could call league racing at this stage, with the way it's working now, it is very much like a cycling race. We've got a breakaway group down the order there working with each other to try and bridge the gap, while the rest of them sort of play chicken with each other up here towards the front. So that's the current state of affairs. What's the case? Who's going to box first from this lead group?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. That is the big ultimate question. 20 lap on hards from Ps1 all the way down to Ps10. The rest of the grid have already boxed. Of course, Tom Manley leads that train right now after overtaking Otis Lawrence not too long ago. Longay now leads the train. Currently sat in from Ps1 to Ps10 now through. Here comes Shanaka Clay up the inside of Istvan Pookie, now coming through the final corner, and Clay, a man on a mission, but Pookie finding the switchback and might yet utilise the power of DRS down the long straight into the pits as well. Comes Ishmael Fassi, Wilson Hughes, Alvaro Caraton, so more runners off the hard tyres now moving on to the mediums, as now once more we see them all now starting to battle over the top end places. Longay now in front. Here comes Barry Burman at the inside of Brendan Lee. Lee doing enough though to hang on to the place, but still Burman will persevere with Ronhar in behind.
Yeah, good stuff from Noah. This is all working into the hands of Otis Lawrence, Tom Manley, Danny Beresney. The more these guys fight, the more time they're going to have to make up. But as you can see now, as these guys have boxed, you've also got guys like Joni Tormala who've jumped them as well. Rasmussen's got in the mix there as well. Thomas Gall's come out in front of Ishmael Fassi, Wilson Hughes, and all these guys as well. So this is going to turn into an interesting fight towards the end of the race here. Caraton, though, is not going to take any further part, and he's gone off in the first sector. Actually, that is a crash for Alvaro Caraton, and he's not going to take any further part in this Grand Prix. So now a couple of drivers have come in. You can see Otis Lawrence, Tom Manley, Danny Beresney. They've got 5.5 seconds over Joni Tormala. That gap's going to be even bigger to these guys up front when they box. Does anybody now decide to come in on this lap to try and again get the jump on each other? Now the Ferraris are going to do a huge amount of people boxing up front. There's the 2 Ferraris and Shanaka Clay have decided to box.
Yep, 3 cars coming in from the top end. Longay as well as Burman, both Ferraris coming in. Remember, of course, they don't share the same box, given the fact that we are running the multiplayer car. Shanaka Clay also joining them as well. So now the sea of cars will move up the order. Those that have already pitted, I can tell you that Otis Lawrence has jumped them, so technically he is the net race leader. And as I say that, Tom Manley now takes that net race lead away from him. So as it works out now, if they all pit above, Manley will lead this race.
Certainly will, but keep in mind that these guys are going to have much fresher tyres compared to those guys on the hards as well. So huge amount of work to be done now. As you can see, Longue's come out behind Wilson Hughes, Thomas Gall, Ishmael Fassi, Freddie Rasmussen, Joni Tormala. All of these guys, they've come out and they've got a bridge gap of 5.5 seconds up to Tom Manley, Otis Lawrence and Danny Beresnay towards the end of the race. So 13 laps to go. Huge amount of work now to be done by Nicholas Longue, Barry Borman, and eventually when Brendan Lee, Thomas Ron pit, they're going to have a huge amount of work to do ahead of them.
They definitely will. Tom Manley now trying to close the gap between he and Jarno Watmere. 9.2 seconds between he and the Flying Dutchman, but Tom Manley has proven already that he can rise and fight with the best of them. Who can forget that fantastic effort at Silverstone? 3 more cars coming in. Brendan Lee, one of them. Thomas Ronhard joining him as well. The 2 Kick Sauber drivers now in for a change of tyres. Pookie joining them too. So Jarno Watmere leads this race. And as we look at it on paper, here comes now as well, obviously the string of cars looking to make their way through. Tom Manley and Otis Lawrence jump them both, and or jump all 3, as does Danny Beresnay, as now Otis Lawrence retakes that net race lead. And now that gap between he and Watmere comes down a little more. It's 8.9 should I say, now 8.7 seconds between Otis and Jarno Watmere.
Yeah, again, that's going to come down. Obviously, Jarno still has to pit, but you can see now these guys have got to go a long way on those hard tyres though, because they still have another 13 laps on these tyres to do. Jarno's done 23 laps on those hard tyres. They've got to go even longer than that, which is going to be interesting to look at. So those tyres are going to fall off, but the question is, how quickly can the guys on the mediums catch up to them? Or will they catch them is another question. They've got to do a bit of tyre management here. So huge amount of split strategy going on here between Otis Lawrence, Tom Manley, Danny Beresnay and the rest of the field here. Fresher medium tyres on these cars, but Joni Tormala is the lead car on the medium tyres right now behind, which will be interesting to see how he gets on. Jarno Watmere pits from P1. So after all those pit stops now, your race leader is going to be Otis Lawrence, followed by Tom Manley and Danny Beresnay. Then it's 4 seconds back to Joni Tormala, who started in 20th place and has worked his way into 4th.
Yeah, he's done a sterling job as well, and utilising that familiar Alpine livery that is available in the multiplayer side as well. Just look at the train of cars in behind as well. Freddie Rasmussen in the midst of a scrap and is currently under pressure as now Tamas Gal moves on through as well. Yet another driver who struggled in qualifying. Gal fighting back, and a great level of tenacity shown here from Wilson Hughes, who manages to blast past Freddie Rasmussen and towed along Nicholas Longue, who now looks to try and challenge on Hughes. Now this time they're going to run side by side, coming out of turn 4 through turn 5 in towards turn 6. The double right-handers to come. Longue going the long way round, might yet get Wilson Hughes and take away P8 from him as well. Enter as well Barry Burman, who tries to loft yet another Ferrari further up within the top 10. Can't quite do it. Longue though consolidating 8th.
Oh, Shanaka Clay gets himself in the mix as well. Contact between himself and Borman through the S's. That now Borman and Rasmussen came to blows last week, and they're back again, trading paint through the middle sector. Couldn't quite get through, but Borman was desperate to follow his teammate through there, and it hasn't worked out. They've lost the DRS on the cars in front, and there's a 10-second penalty for Borman going off the circuit. Was he forced off though? Will that be looked at later on? But these two now have come together previously, and there's now going to be a big scrap going on. Now Borman gets past Rasmussen. Now comes the Saubers of Brendan Lee and Thomas Ronnar, and you can see Ronnar bump drafting Brendan Lee down the straight. Now here comes Lee on the double overtake. Does he do it again? Down the inside, Brendan Lee on both cars in front of him, round the outside of the second part of the corner. That is wonderful from Brendan Lee. Timed it to perfection again. The former F1 Esports champion, showing them how it's done down towards turn 1, and gets by all of them down the straight.
Fantastic move from Brendan Lee. That's the second time he's pulled off something like that, and now heading out to that middle sector very shortly from sector 1. He is looking like a man dialed in. The OG is back in league racing and flexing his raw ability and talents once more, this time for Kick Sauber. It's been a long while since he's won a title, but certainly he's showing all the promise of a future Another championship could yet fall into his arms. Let's wait and see. He's just gone purple, incidentally, in that second sector. He is absolutely flying, Brendan Lee, and he has to, because he has to close back to within DRS of Nicholas Longuet, because he's just outside of a second.
We love to see this feisty Brendan Lee back again as he comes across the start-finish line. He will have DRS on the cars in front. That's big for him as they come across the start-finish line. Fastest lap of the race, Brendan Lee on a mission to try and get himself back into this one now as there's more positions being made now. Thomas Gall down the inside of Joni Tormola. These guys are now starting to catch the guys on the hard tyres. They've brought the gap down by a second. Ishmael Fassi now at the head of the train. That gap was 5.5 seconds 2 laps ago. Now it's 4 seconds. So they've got to get their heads down and close that gap. They're still working with each other up front, but they've got a long way to go on those hard compound tyres, as we see now. That could be a crucial move from Brendan Lee. He managed to get by Barry Boremand and his teammate Thomas Ronar, and of course now is chasing after Nicholas Longuet, who is who was on pole, of course, let's not forget, and he's up behind Wilson Hughes right now. So at the moment, the guys in the mediums are catching the guys on the hard compound tyres up front, so this is going to come to a head. This is brilliant.
Yeah, it's going to be very tight, and the big mission for Ishmael Fassi is that he close up the 3.7 seconds on Danny Berejne. Don't forget, though, Tamas Gal waiting in the wings. Just look at this. The trio of cars sat 4th, 5th and 6th. They started right at the tail end of the field, but due to clever insight, intuitiveness through the strategy, they've lifted themselves higher, and Joni Tormola on his return after moving from RB to now the Alpine team, part of the Red Bull family for oh so long. He's now being challenged by Wilson Hughes, and Freddie Rasmussen has retired. That's the Red Bull driver, Freddie Rasmussen, retiring from the race. Our 5th retirement here tonight as Joni Tormola loses out to McLaren's Wilson Hughes. But yes, not ideal for Red Bull. They're having a tiresome day. Jarno Opmeer down in 14th and seemingly not scoring anything in this race.
Yeah, still a way to go in this race. Let's not count that out just yet, but that gap to the guys in front is coming down very quickly. 2.7 seconds now, the gap to the medium runners behind. So the hard runners are doing their best up front, but that gap is really starting to come down now between the guys, between themselves and Ishmael Fassi, Thomas Gall and Wilson Hughes on those medium tyres. Joni Tormola in the mix now as well, but now he's got Nicholas Longuet and Brendan Lee right behind him, hunting to try to get themselves back into the race lead here as they come through the stadium section once again. So at the rate it's going, in about 2 laps time, we should expect Ishmael Fassi to be within DRS of Danny Berejne up at the front now. But we like to see this. We like to see guys try something different. But will it work or will it not? Let's wait and see. Will the mediums start to fall off a bit and not bring the gap down enough, as we see now Nicholas Longuet on Joni Tormola down the straight? Does Brendan Lee go with him? Yes, he does. Down the inside, Tormola leaves him space, and we know he likes this outside move into the next part of the chicane. He does it again, Brendan Lee, and follows Nicholas Longuet through, so that is crucial that he stays with him.
It absolutely is. Brendan Lee now up into 8th, and he's looking to tow along Thomas Ronhart as well to move up into the top 10. Of course, he is in the top 10, incidentally, started in 10th place, but now looking to get well within it by moving up into P9. Does so, manages to break ahead of Finland's Joni Tormola, who currently sits now in 10th place with Istvan Pukki poking all over his rear wing right now as we watch Brendan Lee now making his way through the S's, chasing after Nicholas Longuet. Fassi getting closer all the time to the back of Danny Berejne. 6 to 7 laps of magic lie in wait for us, folks. It's Otis Lawrence who still leads the way on his 13 lap old hard tyres. He's got the youngest hard tyres of anybody, with Tom Manley and Danny Berejne each having 15 and 14 lap hard tyres. Fassi closing up. He's 1.8 away here in this latter stint, towing along Tamas Gal. Wilson Hughes, who's having a sterling race and chasing after Gal right now as he looks to try and raise the stakes himself. He's also being pursued by Nicholas Longuet as they now cruise down through towards turn 1. Longuet opening the door this time on Hughes as they headed towards turn 1 now. Longuet, brilliant display once more, much like we saw in qualifying. He was superior over 1 lap and now showing all the same credentials here in a race.
Yeah, Brendan Lee getting by Wilson Hughes as well. Longue on the attack on Thomas Gall in front as well, and he gets in front of him as well. Brendan Lee not quite able to do so as they head through this sector again. 1.7 seconds the gap to the leaders now as they come through the middle sector now. So that gap is coming down really, really quickly. So DRS will be on the cards for Ismail Fassi very shortly. But Longue really trying to make the moves work now as he comes through the S's. Ismail Fassi next on his list. But again, difference in the tyre life, but Longue has that 1 lap fresher compared to Ismail Fassi. So Fassi's done a great job to get himself in the mix here at the very least, and you can see the hard runners in front of him now. They're really not far away, but they're not quite in DRS just yet, and Longue now has a great chance to try and get to the head of this train. They've worked their way through on these tyres now. Down the straight they come, lap 31 of 36. Longue trying to get himself up towards the front now with the DRS open. Does he fancy going for him? He's got to watch out for Thomas Gall, who wants to come back at him 3 wide as they head towards turn number 1. Thomas Gall fancies a move down the inside, but Longue gets it done around the outside, just like Ronard did to him on lap number 1. Longue goes to the front. That was brave from the Frenchman that time.
It certainly was, and enough to propel him up into 4th now. And further back, we've got more moves being made with Brendan Lee now looking to ascend, breaks past Thomas Gall. So Lee now started to rise up through the order and join Longue further up. And remember, he's got a lap fresher tyres that even Longue has. He's got 7 lap fresher, so does Ronhard. The 2 kick sabers are not out of this 1 iota. Longue now 1.1 away from Berejnay, and then the fight is on for the lead of the race.
Yeah, this is great stuff now. Longue is just outside DRS, not quite there yet as they head through the middle, as they come into the stadium section. He's really throwing that car around, desperate to get in the DRS of the cars in front because he will be vulnerable to the cars behind if he doesn't. He's just outside it, I think, as he crossed the detection point there. He was 1.07 away from DRS, but we will see as they cross the start-finish line. Lap 32 of 36. If not this lap, it will definitely be next lap, but Brendan Lee is not wasting any time behind. DRS open. Ismail Fassi will not let him get through. This is a fight for position. Ismail Fassi will come back at Longue, and Brendan Lee with the trademark down the inside. They're 3 wide. He has to cut the corner. There wasn't space there. Fassi gets through on the outside line. That's cost them some time doing that.
It certainly has, and Longue, whilst he holds on to 5th, Ismail Fassi has caused him somewhat of a headache. Remember, Fassi on 10 lap all medium tyres, he's going to be feeling every little bit of it. It's allowing Manley to get away, it's allowing Otis to get away, it's allowing Danny Berejnay to get away. It's now 1.5 as opposed to the 1 second gap that Longue held not too long ago whilst he was sat in 4th. He's going to be ruining Ismail Fassi right now, and I'm sure looking to try and bring him down as soon as possible. Brendan Lee following suit. Ron Ha, Brendan Lee's teammate, also not too far behind. Thomas Gall getting hoovered up ever so slightly from Istvan Pukki as well, who is looking to come into this race and has got 3 lap pressure tyres than what Thomas Gall has right now. But as they cruise through the final few corners on this lap, they'll enter lap 33 and 3 to 4 laps will remain.
Yeah, still no DRS for these guys just yet. Lap 33 of 36. They've got to stop fighting with each other if they want to catch at the front here. 1.5 seconds. They gained absolutely nothing on that lap. Here we go again. Brendan Lee inside line. His trademark double overtake. Is it on the cards again towards turn 1 down the inside of Longue? Yes, it is. Another double overtake for Brendan Lee at Mexico. He really likes it here, doesn't he? He goes to the front of the order here, and now he's got to get the head down. There wasn't as much fighting that time. 1.3 seconds to the front. Is there enough time?
Well, that is the big question. With 3 laps still to go, essentially it's all down to Brendan Lee to try and find the pace, try and find it at least, to try and close the gap between he and the top 3. Still Berejnay holding on to that 3rd spot. Former teammates Lee has found that DRS range. He's within a second, very nearly within 9/10 as he flies through the S's. Of course, we look back in the realms of league racing history. Brendan Lee sat at the top of the tree and now looking to climb Everest once more in a bid to becoming the best league racer and best F1 sim racer on the planet. And it could yet happen. This could be the beginning of a monumental story as he now heads out to the final 2 corners here at Mexico. Could he yet become the 3rd different race winner we've had at this track as well? Certainly it won't be Burramand, it won't be Otmir at this rate as they now cascade down through towards turn 1. Longue trying to turn on the style once more. Again, Manley and Otis Lawrence starting to swap over the lead as now enter this time Brendan Lee and Longue wheel to wheel coming out of turn 2. Longue makes the move, and he's up to 4th.
I thought there was going to be, there was contact between Longue and Beresnay there, but Lee was, again, had the foresight to back out of it, because if they went side by side through that next section, the DRS was certainly gone. So Longue to the front now of this train, and now they're right with these guys. These guys have gone a long way on these tyres, but of course, Opmer did 23 laps on them, so they can go the distance, but they're not going to be in the best shape right now as they come through the S section. Once again, Longue at the front of this train, trying to bide his time. But these guys at the front, they have pulled off a really nice strategy here, and it's still very much in their hands at the moment. Can they hang on? Tom Manley's won a race this season, as has Otis Lawrence. Danny Beresnay has not. Longue has not. Neither has Brendan Lee. So there is still so much on the table here. Lap 35 and 36, 2 laps to go here at Mexico, and now they're all back together at the front.
They certainly are. We run on board here with Brendan Lee once more, who's had a truly extraordinary race. Now looking to try and come back and fight against Longue, still at the front end though. We've got Tom Manley swapping with Otis Lawrence, as they have done so far. Danny Beresnay also coming into this too, as they're going to run side by side. Otis Lawrence, a little bit of contact there, the slightest little bit of contact with Tom Manley, but it could yet be enough to send a car around, especially at that portion of circuit where you meet turns 1 and turns 2, but no changes made. Up at the front as now Longue still perseveres. He's within 2/10, looking to try and close up to the back of Beresnay. The medium runners well within the fight right now, and now it's down to Longue and Lee to try and turn on the style. We are in the penultimate lap of the race.
The entire field is in a train from 1st to 14th is in the DRS train right here. So this is going to be absolutely mental going down towards turn number 1. Nobody wanted to lead going onto that lap. Tom Manley's at the head of the train here, but now he could end up getting eaten alive down the straight here as they come down into the stadium section once again. They don't want to lead. Look at this. Manley backing out, going into the stadium section. They're playing chicken with each other as they come into the final corner. None of them want to lead. Look at this. Longue's got by them all. Nicholas Longue has got by and now leads this race. None of them want to lead. This is unbelievable scenes as they come down the straight now. Longue at front. Danny Beresnay in the train behind. They're nearly 3-4 wide down the straight as none of them wants to lead. Longue holds the inside. Ronar goes by on the inside. Beresnay side by side with Ronar towards turn number 1. There's huge amounts of happening behind, and somehow Thomas Ronar has come out of that in the lead.
Absolutely unreal scenes. I'm not quite sure what happened, but a plethora of cars made their way down towards turn 1, and somehow Ron Hart found it. He leads the race with Danny Beresnay now in second. Brendan Lee on his former teammate. It's Van Pookie coming into the fight. Now moves into 3rd as well. Extraordinary. Barry Burman also looking to take a square up to Brendan Lee. Will he take the place? Yes. Moves up into 4th. Thomas Ronhar though now out in front. Beresnay will surely not catch. Those hard tyres are going to be feeling every little bit of it right now as they venture around on the final lap. Lap 36 of 36. Ronhar is back.
Unbelievable. That is the craziest end to a race I've ever seen, and the winning streak is continuing. The 6th different winner in PSGL this season. Thomas Ronar wins in Mexico. Danny Beresnay finishes 2nd, and a huge podium for Brendan Lee, who finishes in 3rd place. Otis Lawrence is 4th. Thomas Gall 5th. Chinaka Clay is 6th. Points for Jarno Watmere. He finishes 7th. Wilson Hughes in 8th, Istvan Pukki 9th, back up the grid to P10 for Joni Tormala, and after all of that, no points for Ferrari.
Absolutely unbelievable. I've got no answer for that race ending. I'm gobsmacked, and I bet all of you are at home as well. Thomas Ronhar, though, is your race winner, though I can imagine the stewards' room is going to be alight at the end of this broadcast. We'll wait and see, but as we call it across the line, Thomas Ronhar is your race winner after what has to be said, a truly extraordinary run coming down towards turn 1 with many cars getting themselves into the mix, all wanting that race lead. But it was Ronhar who prevailed on the day and will lift the trophy aloft. Danny Beresnay as well finishing in 2nd, and I must say credit to Beresnay for making that strategy work. Of course, was under pressure on the hard tyres at the bitter end. And then Brendan Lee, who managed to fight and get himself a P3. Huge result for Kick Sauber, Jack.
Yeah, big result for them. First and third for the moment, and the fastest lap for Brendan Lee as well in third place there, as we try to recover from what the hell that last lap was. But Ronar finally gets a victory on the board. Danny Beresnay as well, a great second place, and considering that he was on that alternate strategy, he made it work, and another P2, and he really now brings himself into the championship fight with that. Otis Lawrence fourth, and a great result. Thomas Gall 18th to 5th for that man. Great result.
And Joni Tormela in the points, took a P10 at the very end, managed to take a solitary point in this fight as well. But obviously, Jana Watmere taking points is huge as well. Beresnay second, Brendan Lee, Otis Lawrence, Tamas Gall closes out your top 5. Extraordinary. Of course, we lost quite a sea of cars right at the very back, but all eyes on the prize, certainly up at the very top as far as Thomas Ronhart is concerned. What a race, everybody. Truly unbelievable. We are now beyond the halfway point of the championship. I can imagine the driver's room at the moment is probably looking like a bit of a sour sight, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that nobody wanted to lead going on to the final lap, but I've never seen anybody, 20 cars, well, to put it 15 cars, driving at about 30k an hour through the final sector, and Longe going through. He was actually leading on the final lap, going on to the final lap, and he finished, I think, 12th, I think, at the end of it. So that was just crazy. I've never seen anything like that before here at PSGL. It always surprises me every week. But by my calculations, after that, Jarno's actually still leading the championship, would you believe?
Yeah.
7 points now the gap.
Unbelievable. That's 7th place, gifting him a 7-point gap between he and Brendan Lee, who notches together his 4th podium. Now has the most podiums out of anybody in the championship so far. Goes ahead of Jana Watmere, who wasn't able to claim that podium, but still a long way to go in the championship. We've got Austria coming up just after this one, but it has to be said, incredible performance on part of the drivers taking part so far. Unbelievable race, Jack. I mean, there's got to be a moral issue, though, I think, in terms of what went on at the end of lap 35.
I can tell you, I'm in the driver's room right now. It's really
Carnage.
not good. It's absolute carnage. Absolute carnage. They're all at each other's throats. So expect the stewards to be a bit busy for this one, because there's a lot of insults flying. Let's put it that way. But nonetheless, Kick Sauber, double podium. Danny Beresnay gets another podium. He got his first podium last week, and now adds to that. So he's got 3rd in Spa, 2nd this week. So possibly we'll be aiming for that lead next time. But I mean, I still am amazed that we've been in league racing for so long at this stage, and I still see something new. I've never seen that before.
No, I think, to be honest, Jack, it's surprising, isn't it? We've been around. Of course, me and you have been commentating PSGL for quite some time. The drama always unfolds, at least at some point. We've gone through the whole cheating scandal. Of course, there's always a new thing cropping up time and time again. Obviously, it's never easy, of course, what we do, whether it's a driver or a commentator or anybody in terms of league racing. But at the end of the day, you've got to call it like you see it. And I must say, not overly impressed with what we saw at the end of lap 35, it has to be said, because if you want a race winner, you want a race winner on merit. And I wouldn't be surprised if that is exactly what the drivers are saying, or at least some of the drivers are saying in the briefing room right now, Jack. If you're a steward right now, you're in for a long night.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be a steward at this point, really. But the drivers are united about one thing, is Joni Tormela getting the points. So they're at least all happy for Joni Tormela.
I'm glad they're at least celebrating that.
Yeah, they are celebrating, but I can tell you there's a lot of debate going on in there right now.
Well, I can tell you this. We have got here in the commentary box with us Thomas Ronhart, race winner off the back of our last race here at Mexico. Thomas, I mean, a bizarre race, probably one you didn't expect to win. I mean, it all happened down the main straight at the Principale, really, on the last lap.
Yeah, to be honest, looking like the last 3 laps, it was looking like a top 5 was going to be a great result. But yeah, of course, when you're P1 around there and the gaps are so close, if you P1 on the last lap and everybody just uses all the bad trade they have, you're going to be P5 at best. So it was always going to happen that, I don't know who was leading on lap 35. I think it might have been Tom. Like I said, I would have done the exact same as him and, play some DRS chicken. Luckily, I was very fortunate about the positioning of my car heading towards the last corner. And also had a very healthy amount of battery to eventually get the lead into turn 1, which again, starting, or actually, I think it was P7 on lap 35 at some point, and then P1, I think 5 corners later is something, yeah, I didn't expect it at all. But yeah, it's a nice little gift, certainly, and yeah, nice teamwork as well with Brendan to get a P1 and P3 proficiently.
Yeah, I mean, huge points in terms of the team's championship. We actually alluded to that at the end of the race. Obviously, yourself taking the victory, Brendan Lee, another superb performance. Brendan must be feeling ever so slightly robbed to a degree because his performance was absolutely sensational. I mean, as a unit, you're both looking strong. You came into this round actually second in the team's championship. What do you make of the second half of the campaign? Because we've got some fascinating ones to come. We've got Austria coming up next. After that, Qatar, Texas, Vegas, Brazil, Abu Dhabi then to finish. You know, your championship has only really started now because the start didn't necessarily go so well, did it?
Yeah, I can agree on that, certainly. Yeah, my start has been, I wouldn't say unlucky. It's also been a bit of, you know, my side, and I wasn't driving as at my best, I would say. Also due to, you know, a month of holidays was also involved. Yeah, I think right now the pace is looking better than ever with both me and Brendan. So all I can say is, you know, bring on the second half of the PSGL season, and of course, esports coming up. Well, I don't know when, but yeah, hopefully soon as well. Yeah, I'm looking forward. Like I said, I think I'm in a championship fight again in PSGL. I don't know what the gap is, but it's probably too big for now still to Jarno and Brendan. But yeah, I'll try my best. It's gonna be chaotic, like it showed today, and yeah, looking forward.
Well, based on current situations on track, you're approximately 28 points behind Jarno Watmere at the moment at the top of the tree. Obviously, we're not sure how that's going to be affected with stewards' decisions at the very end, because I happen to know, or I'm happy to look, plenty of stewards, you know, should we say, inquiries being led.
Yeah.
What was your take on that last lap, Thomas, coming out of that final corner?
I don't think anything bad happened in the last corner mainly. It was obviously contact, but I think everybody held, let's say, the strengths. I think it could have ended way worse for all of our drivers, really. Because, you know, 6, 7, 8, I don't know how many cars, maybe even 10 cars, like within a second in the last corner, just getting the DRS on towards the main straight. I think everybody had some good respect to keep it clean, and for in the last corner at least having no damage. But then of course T1 still needs to happen, turn 1, where everybody is going to drain a battery into turn 1. And I don't know what exactly happened. I saw many yellow flags behind me, so I have to look after what happened. So I don't know exactly what was going on, but I did know was I was very fortunate with what all happened. And yeah, like I said, I don't know exactly what was going on behind, so I'll need to check that, but it was certainly chaotic, I must say.
It definitely was that, but at least you got your first win on the board for the season. That is quite something. Well done, Thomas. Wish you all the very best as we head to Austria for our next round.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thomas Ronhart, everybody joining us in the commentary box. We've now got someone else joining us as well who pulled off a superb run on the hard tyres at the very end, and by goodness me, it was crucial. Danny Berejnay joining us in the commentary box. Danny, welcome. And thank you for joining us. Obviously, a busy race on your part, and I must say it looked like those on the alternate strat, in comparison to yours, were better. You definitely had to pull it out the bag at the very end.
Yeah, well, it was more chaotic than how I expected it to be. I think if I risk it for the biscuit, I may have a chance to win. But I left so much space for everyone, and even paid attention to behind so I don't get hit. Because the whole race I was saving tires, letting Tom Manley and Otis working together, and I just really wanted us to not fight and be catched up at the latest point possible in the race. And sometimes Tom and Otis sometimes didn't really understand each other. I think if we pull this strategy off perfectly, we may never be catched. But yeah, the hard tires were good enough for the last few laps, and then it was just all about trying to get a DRS from anyone, basically, long straight, and started off with 100% battery. That's how I did it. I was side by side with Thomas for the first few corners, but then he was in a little bit of a more favorable position. I gave him room. I tried to save up battery for the last sector, but because there was Istvan and Brandon battling behind me, even in the slow parts, I still needed to give some space, otherwise I would have been spun. So Thomas started the middle sector with 6/10 of advantage, and that's just something that you cannot get back on, especially him. I also had 2 warnings for the most of the race, which I was quite scared of. Track limits, 3-second penalty probably causes you like 5 positions. I'm in a good spot at the moment in the championship, so I really just try to be smart and cautious today. And I'm gutted that the win was not there, but consistent podiums. I was on the podium last week as well. I always trade in for inconsistent results with maybe a victory.
Yeah, I mean, Danny, you know, you've got to give yourself a little bit of credit here. I mean, you've been in the F1 sim racing game now for such a long time, but it's only really now I think you're being given this frontal role by Mercedes as their lead driver. Obviously, you've been alongside the likes of Brendan Lee and Jarno Watmir in the past for 2 different teams, incidentally, but now you're back with Mercedes, and now I suppose it's your responsibility to help this team to great success. Are you pleased that you've got this opportunity to thrive at the highest level now and essentially put your stamp on this team?
Yeah, well, it's always good to be the fastest among the group, but in terms of leading the team, I would like our teams to be as strong as possible. So if I come second, I don't want my teammate to be third just to be behind me. I want him to win, and I want the absolutely strongest and best teammates for myself. And I think Jake and Istvan will be fantastic this year, and I also try to be fantastic, but we are fighting against the others and not against ourselves. So I only care about the result, and I don't really care about the position that I take within the team.
No, well, I mean, what is important though is that your home country friend, of course, colleague Istvan Pukki now joins you at Mercedes. What does it mean to be working with him, especially now as you both came through sim racing together?
Yeah, well, that's amazing because I think Hungary is a lot closer country in terms of relationship than, for example, Netherlands. Like arguments. What happened between Jarno and Thomas could never happen between us in Hungary. Even before F1 Esports existed, I met Istvan multiple times. We played bowling together, drank together, went even to a summer road trip together. When he will also get a girlfriend, we will go to double dates. So it's a lot more friendly for us. And I absolutely love that. We will always leave from the same airport, take the same taxi, take the same car, go to the gym together, eat together. Finally, I don't feel that alone. Obviously, when you are in the factory, then you have Jake and Jarno last year, but you know, the whole traveling process and preparing in your own language, that's just fantastic. And I'm super proud of him because we came from a very long way, very different families, and we ended up working for the biggest automobile brand in history.
Well, I mean, it's a lovely story, and you truly have, and you are manacled together as a pairing, and you never know, maybe it could be the Hungarian duo that lifts a championship aloft this year, which would, I'm sure, mean a lot. Danny, congratulations on another podium. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry everyone for the long speech. Goodbye.
No, they loved it, Danny. They loved it. Great to have you with us as always. Danny Barojny, everybody. What a human being. Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely right. Couldn't have said it better myself in the live chat. A class act. He absolutely is, and passionate about sim racing. I mean, Jack, I don't think we're going to hear from Brendan Lee, at least for now. He's probably feeling a bit peeved after the result. Could have been easily him winning this race, can I just say. His pace was unreal. And I have to tell you, I would have backed on him being the favourite to actually come out on top in this, just based on what we saw coming into the final lap. It wasn't until we saw the big mess coming through the final corner that things started to turn.
Yeah, I was also backing Brendan to come through on that, but I was not anticipating the unbelievable DRS chicken in the final sector. Danny did say that he is in a good position in the championship. He certainly is, because now he's only 13 points off the lead, so he's very much in it now at the front. So by my calculations, Jarno now still in the lead on 56 points, and then we have Brendan Lee on 49, and then certain Danny Beres now on 43. So he's very much in it up towards the front as well. But I love it when stats carry on. Once again, 6 different winner, and the person who started on pole still didn't finish in the top 5.
There we go. The stat rolls on. It continues, Jack Kinnan. And obviously, speaking of which, we're going to be moving to yet another track which has been glorified. And we want to talk about stats. Obviously, Barry Burraman has a great record at this next track as well. Austria comes up very soon and, of course, is featured at the start of various PSGL seasons in the past. Barry Burraman winning in those as well. So we will be heading there next. But, folks, I just want to say a big thank you to each and every single one of you for checking in. I just want to say my social tag down below is incorrect. That's my fault, that is, for selecting the wrong one. Yeah, if you want to check out Premier Sim GL, if you've been tuned in across Twitch or YouTube, big thank you to every single one of you. I think we amassed well beyond 3K across both platforms, so immensely well done to each and every single one of you. If you've been watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, also leave a like, and also if you've been watching on Twitch, be sure to hit that follow button as well. Big thank you to each and every single one of you again. Head across to social media at Premier Sim GL on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you know, across the board, exactly the same. It doesn't matter which. And of course, we upload various bits of content as well. I'd like for you guys to check out. If you want to check me out as well, ignore the tag down below. It's at George Morgan TV if you want to check me out. Jack, where can they find you, sir?
You've got my social tag is actually correct, so you can go find me right now. It's at Jack C Coms with the 2 C's, of course. You can follow me over on X/Twitter.
Absolutely right. Well, it was the turn of Thomas Ronha, yet another race winner. No one has taken more than one through the course of this campaign, but that could differ as we make our way through towards Austria. We're now into the second half of the championship. Where is it going to go? We'll soon find out. We'll see you next time, folks. Take care. Goodbye.